Hey guys. Here's part 3 of What If Naruto Met a Mysterious Archer During the Chunin Exams. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 27. This is your home village, huh? It seems that it saw better days. Hashikuji Kisame shrugged, his famous sword resting on his back, wrapped in pieces of cloth, hiding most of the weapon and leaving only the hilt visible. The large blue-skinned man looked impressive. Even the dark cloak decorated with red clouds didn't conceal his impressive form completely, as he practically radiated pure physical power. It suffered damage during the invasion. It is not unexpected, Itachi replied, looking over the place he once called home with a neutral expression. He looked far less impressive than his partner, but only a fool would assume that Itachi was a pushover. Rarely did the ninja world witness such a talent. Itachi was dangerous, and not just because of his eyes, but because he knew how to use them. You almost sound as if you are sad. Kisame smirked. Do not speak nonsense, Kisame. This village lost all meaning for me long ago. I just find my return here ironic. Whatever. We need to find the brat and get this over with. It will not be that simple. You know just as well as I do that Hiruzen Sarutobi has survived the invasion and Orochimaru's attempt to take his life. I am sure the two of us can take on the old man. He is long past his prime when he would have slaughtered us. Yet he remains a formidable opponent. No, direct infiltration with a high probability of combat would be a foolish strategy right now. I suggest we take a more delicate approach. Delicate, huh? You know, Itachi, I am not into anything delicate. Don't worry, I'll handle it. There will be time when we will require brute force. After all, that is what you specialize in. Sometime your tongue will get you in trouble, Itachi. Kisame tilted his head, his hands slightly itching towards the handle of his sword. Those who can be offended by mere words do not concern me, Kisame. Now please stand watch while I gather the required information. The sand shinobi that were taken prisoner during the invasion were now being released. Not all at once. It would be quite reckless to allow a large number of foreign shinobi to simply move around. Instead, the sand ninjas were released in smaller groups that were escorted to the border by several Konoha Chunin. That meant that it would take several weeks for all of the surviving sand ninjas to return home, but at least now the prisoners knew that they would return, and that raised the spirits in the prisoner camps. Before, their fate was clouded by uncertainty. Among the first group of the released sand shinobi were also those who suffered injuries. These men were healthy enough to walk, but clearly not enough to move around at ninja speeds. It took time to get to the border where the prisoners would get their weapons back and would be allowed to move across the border. It was actually quite easy to see a border between the two countries. Often borders were abstract lines that could be clearly seen only on the maps, but in this case it was far easier. One could easily see where the forested area ended and the desert started. The desert was of course a rough place to live, but sand ninjas smiled when they saw the familiar scenery. Desert or not, it was their home, and there were already those who would greet them. It was logical that someone had to sort of accept the prisoners so that there would be no legal disputes later. It can't be, Baki gasped. The injury left by the arrow healed nicely, but he was still so weak that even the slow walk across the land of fire left him noticeably winded. But all his fatigue was forgotten when he saw his student. Gaara was standing just where the sand ended, his gourd on his back and the neutral expression on his face. Kankuro was standing next to his younger brother, also with his unusual weapon wrapped up on his back. Strangely, Temari was absent, and Baki didn't like it. He also didn't know what to expect of Gaara. The sand user was always unpredictable and violent. You the sand representative? Izumo approached Gaara. The Konoha Chunin was put in charge of this mission, and it was a nice break from his usual boring duties, even if this mission had relatively low danger levels. Besides, it was also marked as AB rank, so the payment would be nice. My brother will handle the formalities. Gaara spoke in a low monotone. Izumo raised an eyebrow and turned to Kankuro, who pulled out a piece of paper. It was a document that confirmed his position as a Sand Village representative in this matter. It had an official seal and several signatures. Without the Kazekage, the hidden Sand Village was currently run by the Assembly of Elder Shinobi. Those were mostly retired ninjas who usually served as advisors. Everything seems to be in order. Here is the list of the released prisoners. Izumo handed Gaara the list. The Sand Genin also signed a document confirming that the prisoners crossed the border and were not harmed. All went very smoothly. It was agreed that the prisoners will be given an hour-long rest before marching on. I trust you will not abuse this agreement. Izumo narrowed his eyes slightly. You need not to worry, nobody will move back into the land of fire. I will make sure of it. My village does not want a political conflict. Gaara spoke, but his words were more directed to the sand shinobi present. If any of them had any desire to seek revenge for their defeat, Gaara would stop them, and few had any desire to engage in battle with the sand user. Then we are off. I wish you a pleasant journey home. Izumo spoke. He hardly meant that, but there was no reason to be rude, and the Konoha nin soon departed. Their return home would be much quicker, as they now could allow themselves to jump through the trees. Gaara, Kankuro. Baki approached his students. Other sand ninjas were settling down to rest and eat. Each was supplied with a single ration bar, hardly a meal one would be looking for, but it would easily last them throughout the journey. Sensei. Gaara acknowledged his teacher with a slight nod of his head. I wasn't expecting you two to be here. The capable shinobi are currently in short supply. We do with what we have, Gaara replied. You look tired, Sensei. Baki fought an urge to take a careful step back. It almost seemed as if Gaara showed concern for his health. Baki never saw Gaara expressing any form of concern for the well-being of others, even when it came down to his own siblings. Yeah, what happened to you? You sort of disappeared before the invasion, Kankuro mentioned. One Konoha shinobi discovered my meeting with a sound ninja spy named Kabuto. I tried to stop him from revealing any information, but during the combat someone shot me from behind with an arrow. I suppose they worked as pair or something, I miscalculated. Happens. Kankuro shrugged. We also got a bit roughed up during the invasion. What exactly happened? Konoha didn't give us any info, but from what I managed to gather, you two were never present during the invasion, and where the hell is Temari? Our battle took place outside Konoha. Gaara spoke. We were defeated, but were allowed to leave. Defeated? Yeah. You know, Sensei, when we will get another idea to attack Konoha, let's avoid doing that. I got off easy, but Temari won't be running around for a while, a nasty break. Kankuro sounded a bit angry. He rarely showed deep feelings for his siblings, but never appreciated them getting hurt. Even Gaara, though his younger brother never suffered an injury until recently. What happened exactly? Baki asked. He didn't like where this was going. Well, to put it simply, we got in a fight with 4 Konoha genin. They first took out Temari, brutally I might add, then pinned me down, and then Gaara went all. Kankuro suddenly closed his mouth and looked at his brother. Perhaps it was a bad idea to remind Gaara of how he went berserk. I began losing control, eventually used the feigned sleep technique. It got out, but it wasn't enough. I lost badly. The power my opponents demonstrated, I am trying to understand it, but it is hard. But I realize now that I didn't even stand a chance, the outcome was predetermined. That is unusual. Baki could only mutter. It always were strange. Gaara losing to genin, Gaara admitting their strength. It was all very strange. Sensei, during that fight I felt something. I never felt that before. What do you mean? I never felt it being afraid, I never felt it hesitate, cower. Baki didn't know how to reply. From what Gaara described, Shikaku was afraid during the battle. But what could make one of the tailed beasts feel fear? What was the power that defeated Gaara of all people? Baki didn't know how to answer those questions, but it was clear that the defeat somehow changed Gaara. It was still unclear how, but something was different, very different. We should get going soon. Gaara spoke. Temari will be happy to see you, Sensei. Kisame was an experienced shinobi, so he had little trouble with waiting when he had to. After all, patience was a necessary part of the job. On the other hand, it never meant that he had to like waiting, and he felt that Samahata was getting a bit restless too. It was a while since the sword had a chance to taste chakra of his enemies. The Konoha shinobi were rumored to be tough, and strong ninjas usually had chakra that could satisfy his weapon. Sadly, Itachi made a point way he argued against a direct approach. Fighting could be fun, but Kisame had little desire to die a pointless death due to his own foolishness. Hashigaki Kisame feared little, but a pointless, meaningless death was among those things. It is done! Itachi stretched his hand and a crow landed on it. Kisame watched as the bird looked at Itachi, who had his Sharingan activated, but then the bird sort of exploded in a shower of feathers. You know that you are creepy when you use those things. Itachi turned his head slightly at Kisame, feeling slightly irritated by that comment. Kisame had blue skin and had a sword that fed on chakra, and to him Itachi seemed creepy. For a moment Itachi wondered if Kisame ever came across an invention called a mirror. Our mission has just become simpler and more complicated at the same time. It is not like you to speak nonsense. Kisame frowned. Our target, Uzumaki Naruto, is currently out of the village and thus to a degree vulnerable. Itachi turned to Kisame, revealing the information he managed to gather. It took some time, as locating the Jinchuriki proved impossible. Luckily, the staff of some ramen stand discussed the young genin and mentioned the necessary information. What is the trouble then? I hardly think that a brat will be of any trouble even if he has that fox sealed up in his gut. He is traveling with Jiraiya the Sannin. Kisame's eyes widened slightly. He knew that name and knew how powerful the Toad Mountain Sage was. His power was beyond formidable. Such man, both the Uchiha clan and the 7 swordsmen of the mist look petty before him. Indeed, if we attack him we will die. Perhaps we will take him with us, but we will still fail. I see, we will again use the delicate approach. I am starting to hate this mission, Itachi. Kisame frowned. You are welcome to try it your way, Kisame. The two men looked at each other until Kisame's mouth curved into a smirk. Fine, we will do it your way, Itachi. Good. First of all, we will require a right moment and a way to separate the Sannin from our target. And how do you propose we do that, Itachi? I have a plan that might give us an opportunity we seek. Once it takes actions, we should abduct the target quickly before the Sannin gets a chance to interfere. Just don't kill the brat. Don't kill doesn't mean don't injure, right? As long as he lives, I don't care. The leader never specified that the target should be brought back in pristine condition. Naruto was looking around with excitement. The town was a busy place with numerous shops and stands selling amazing amount of various trinkets. Jiraiya, on the other hand, didn't seem interested in it and looked bored until he saw something. Hey kid, you got money? Sure, why are you asking? Naruto pulled out his frog-shaped wallet, which was snatched by Jiraiya before Naruto could even blink. Hey, what gives? Naruto objected when Jiraiya pulled out several bills. That was his hard-earned money. You made me pay for your meal back at the village. I hoped you would have the decency to at least pay for your own training gear. Jiraiya looked at the genin before tossing back the wallet. Oh, that, you could have explained it first. Naruto looked around, but to his surprise saw nothing that in his opinion could be used for training, especially when it came to learning the Rasengan. Jiraiya thought differently as he bought a bunch of simple air balloons. Yes, these will do nicely. Prepare, Naruto. Prepare for what? All those things are good for his throwing a party for a little brat. Like you? Jiraiya laughed, but Naruto just glared, demanding an explanation. Fine, let's find a place to stay for the night and I'll show you how things work. A simple hotel was deemed as a good enough place, and the duo soon entered their room. Thereafter, dumping their stuff, Jiraiya demonstrated the exercise after he filled one of the balloons with water. Blah! Naruto rubbed his face. He leaned closer when he saw the balloon move around violently as if the water inside boiled. Then it exploded and the blonde Jinchuriki got showered in cold water. Naruto glared at Jiraiya, but the Sannin only laughed at what happened. It took him a few moments to calm down, and then he gave a short explanation of the exercise. First step, rotation. You use chakra to move the water inside to break the thin balloon. You have as many tries as there are balloons, get to it. Alright, I am on it. You'll see, I'll complete this exercise before you know it. Yeah, sure, whatever you say, kid. Jiraiya sat down by the window with a bored look. For a while his only entertainment was Naruto grunting from the effort, but his progress was slow. Still, Jiraiya had to admit that when necessary the kid could concentrate on the task. But in one way or another it was boring to watch the kid train, especially since nothing much was happening. Whoa! Jiraiya saw a gorgeous girl outside, a perfect specimen of female beauty. She seemed alone and a bit bored. Perhaps she needed company. You keep training, I'll go. Look around. We both know what you will go looking for, perv. Naruto sighed. Well, you sure don't need me babysitting you, right? Just keep it up, I prefer to see results when I get back. Naruto got back to work feeling that he already hated the balloon, which had no desire to break. But Naruto was stubborn, so Jiraiya left knowing that Naruto would never slack off. The blonde would just keep trying until he got it right. That was just the way he was, and that allowed him not only to survive, but improve as well. Did he get beaten up already? Naruto wondered when he heard someone knocking. Besides, why knock when you had a key? Scratch that, Jiraiya didn't seem like a guy that was into knocking at all. Hey, pervy sage, why back so? Huh! Naruto with a frown opened the door, but the people standing in the doorway were unfamiliar, but practically radiated danger. Uzumaki Naruto, you are coming with us. Sure, like that will happen. Naruto stepped back into the room away from the two dangerous-looking ninjas. That was not a request, I am afraid. Kisame. Finally, I was so tired of your delicate approach. Kisame moved with speed unnatural for such a large person, but before Naruto could even blink he was grabbed by his clothes and pulled up like a doll. To Kisame's surprise, the blonde suddenly wrapped his feet around Kisame's hand, pulled, trying to dislocate it. He failed to injure the ninja, but forced him to release his grip. Little runt! Kisame frowned and spun around, delivering a swift kick to Naruto's chest. The blonde flew back and smashed against the bed before exploding in a puff of smoke. Shadow clone? Kisame didn't look happy at being tricked. The window. Itachi leaped across the room, grabbing the wall, flipping himself around to end up on the outside, glued to the vertical surface. His Sharingan began scanning everything around, trying to pick up the blonde ninja. Raf! Naruto dropped down from the roof, trying to punch Itachi, but the Uchiha easily avoided the attack, grabbing the boy as he was passing by. It turned out to be another clone, that before dispelling detonated a smoke bomb. The smoke wasn't natural as it hurt Itachi's eyes, who in a single flip made it to the roof. Kisame appeared next to him, smashing right through the tiles that covered the roof. They both saw the blonde ninja jump off the roof onto the streets below. I'll shave his legs off for this, Kisame growled, and the pursuit began. Chapter 28. One thing Naruto knew how to do better than most was running away. No, because he was a coward, hardly, but being a well-known prankster meant that he had to escape the ire of his targets on regular basis back before he made genin. The civilians had as much chances of catching him as suddenly growing a pair of wings and taking it to the air. The ninjas were a different story, but even they often had trouble catching the prankster, who on more than one occasion sent them on a wild chase around Konoha. Naruto was fast, but also didn't seem to tire at all. His amazing stamina made outrunning him a task worthy of a well-trained and experienced ninja. Those skills were now put to good use. Naruto had no idea who those guys that appeared out of nowhere were, but each of them gave off a vibe similar to that Naruto felt when facing Orochimaru. These were ninjas in a league of their own, and fighting them directly was suicide. When protecting his teammates, and those he cared for, Naruto was willing to risk his life to give them a chance for survival. But right now he only had to worry about his own well-being. His clones would only distract the enemies for a few moments at most, so he had to act fast. Jumping down from the roof of the hotel, he immediately created a clone that sprinted off in the other direction. The hope was that the enemies would have to split up to chase him now. The streets were crowded and provided additional cover as Naruto used his much smaller frame to maneuver around. He glanced back and saw that tall blue-skinned man charging through the crowd, shoving people out of the way. The other one that looked a bit like Sasuke was nowhere in sight, and Naruto dashed to the side. Got you! Kisame appeared in front of Naruto and swung his large sword, trying to knock the annoying genin out. Naruto didn't know how he reacted, but almost instinctively he went into a slide, the enormous blade sailing right over his head. Rag! Kisame moved his blade around, annoyed that the initial strike missed. With a scowl he brought it down, but the genin gained a sudden burst of speed and avoided the strike that buried the heavy blade into the ground. Kisame pulled the weapon up and frowned. He saw that for a moment the kid's eyes flashed red and Samahata managed to taste a bit of his chakra. Kisame rarely saw his blade so excited as it visibly vibrated under that cloth that covered it. But there was not time to think over that. Kisame kicked open the door leading to the nearest bar, a place Naruto ran into. It was a low-class place for those who could not afford anything better, and Kisame immediately saw some drunkard that appeared in front of him with an almost empty bottle of sake. Cheers, pal, Kisame didn't bother with the man throwing him out of the window as he saw an orange blur at the far end of the dimly lit place. People around moved out of his way. Damn brat owl! Again? Kisame roared when the kid exploded in a puff of smoke. Kisame immediately turned around and saw the man he threw out get up and dash off. The next second the transformation jutsu was released and Naruto disappeared from view, running into the nearest alley. I'll shave you to bits, brat! Kisame roared, resuming the chase. He was an S-rank missing nin, but he was tricked by a genin. It was unreal. Still, Kisame wasn't used to chasing down his prey. Usually those he had to fight had the decency of facing him directly, which was in most cases the worst thing they could do. Thus Naruto was one of the smartest opponents Kisame ever faced, and one of the sneakiest. Naruto was still at a great disadvantage though. Perhaps he forced his foes to slip up, but that wouldn't last long. Naruto also realized that the blue-skinned man was not going to tire any time soon. Naruto needed to find Jiraiya, but who knew where that perv was? Running around was not an option. Naruto had to find some way to attract his attention. Something big. The first idea was to summon a toad big enough to tower over the buildings, but this was a heavily populated area and Naruto didn't want to crush several buildings with people inside. Shadown Clone Jutsu! Naruto created 3 more clones that dashed in separate directions, but before they could even make a few steps Kisame appeared, destroying 2 clones with one strike of his sword. The tall man then spun around targeting the original, but to his shock the remaining clone grabbed his leg and swung himself around it, wrapping his legs and arms around the limb. Enraged, Kisame rammed the hilt of his weapon into the back of the clone's head, Samahada absorbing the residual chakra, but the original once more began to run away. Naruto understood that his pursuer was faster, so instead of trying to simply run, Naruto ran inside the nearest building, which turned out to be some storage area filled with crates. It was possible to hide in this labyrinth of crates and boxes. Hey, you can't just... Naruto guessed that the place had some kind of security, and that security was unlucky enough to run into his pursuer. One thing Naruto learned from Toro is to always expect an attack, to think before acting, to use a combination of your mind and strengths to overcome the weaknesses. So far that allowed Naruto to remain free and uninjured. That brat! Kisame slowly looked around. Searching through this place would take too much time. It was just his luck that the brat ran into such a place, that basically a perfect spot for those who wanted to win time, but there was a way to remedy this situation. Crap! Naruto swore when he saw his pursuer once more swing his massive sword, reducing several crates to piles of wood. It turned out some of those were filled with fireworks, some with children clothing and toys. Most likely this place was a storage for a line of children's shops. They without a doubt were going to get some of their merchandise ruined as Kisame once more swung his sword, tearing down a whole pile of boxes not far from Naruto's hiding spot. Hey, fish face, looking for me? Naruto appeared atop a large crate not far from Kisame. Decided to stop wasting my time? Don't think that I will go easy on you just because you decided to surrender. What said anything about surrendering? Naruto grinned and made a familiar seal. Kisame charged, but had to destroy several clones before reaching Naruto. The genin jumped down from the crate, but Kisame went through, swinging his sword. He easily dodged a single kunai and finally grabbed Naruto by his throat. Finally! Kisame growled and kicked Naruto in the gut, confirming that this one was an original. Last words? Yeah, you fell for it. Naruto grinned. For a second Kisame thought that the brat was bluffing, but then his eyes widened. Before Kisame could do anything, he heard an explosion behind him. The kunai Naruto threw had an explosive tag wrapped around the hilt, and now the blast threw both Kisame and Naruto away, making both smash into the several more crates. But just as according to plan, Kisame basically shielded Naruto with his large frame, absorbing most of the impact. The first explosion followed by another, and something shiny flew between Naruto and Kisame, exploding into a shower of blue and red. It worked! Naruto punched air. The explosion started a chain reaction, setting off the fireworks that began flying everywhere until one particularly large rocket shot through the roof and exploding high above the city. But no matter how impressive all of this was, Naruto began running again. He ran towards the exit and out into the street. Ag! Naruto suddenly saw that the way out into the main street was blocked by a large stone wall. The way back was also blocked off when a similar wall raised. Naruto looked around, but the world began spinning and he felt dizzy. What the hell? Naruto yelled and suddenly was smashed against the wall by a strong hand. A moment later the genjutsu was lifted and Naruto saw that he was held by another person in a dark cloak. Just hold him, Itachi, and I'll break his legs slowly. Kisame appeared, putting out his cloak that caught fire. Not, you'll do it quickly, all this noise will attract the unneeded attention. Itachi said, his strong grip limiting the amount of oxygen Naruto could suck in. Fine. Kisame reached for his sword with a wicked grin. Hello, welcome to the Yamanaka flower shop, how can I? Oh, it's you, Sakura. Ino lost her welcoming smile. Instead, she lazily leaned on the counter and yawned. Clearly business was going slow and Ino was bored. During the whole day she had only 3 or 4 clients, and those ordered nothing special. Hi. Sakura approached the counter. Anything interesting happened lately? Not really. With Asuma-sensei here and there, Shikamaru was in charge of our missions most of the time. You know that guy has zero motivation, so we were doing the basic minimal load. Only D-rank mission, and then we did whatever we wanted. Our dads were also often out on missions and all. Only Neji seemed to be training actively, but he is a bit of a workaholic if you asked me. Really? He must be, he is a strong ninja. He didn't have much chances to demonstrate that, but he never questioned Shikamaru's authority. I guess subordination was drilled into him being from the branch family of a Hyuga clan and all. He isn't that hard to be around really, he doesn't talk much, so he doesn't irritate me except for one thing. Like what? He is totally immune to my female charm. Ino frowned. And he is no gentleman, saying that I have to pull my load. First of all, what female charm? Sakura couldn't help but smirk when Ino sent her an angered glare. As for pulling your own load, I agree with that. We are equal members of our teams, aren't we? Yeah. Still, it takes much effort to be a ninja and remain gorgeous. Since when are you gorgeous? Always been. I kind of can see and adore my own reflection in your forehead. Ino decided for a big of a payback for Sakura's earlier comment. Whatever. Sakura sighed. She had no intention of getting into an argument. Kakashi allowed her to have the rest of the day off, and she was grateful for it. Kakashi made her work hard, but at least she didn't leave the training bruised, dirty, and miserable. She also felt that she was improving and couldn't wait to show off her new skills to her teammates. Thus she was in a pretty good mood and had no desire to ruin that by getting into a petty argument with Ino. So, what is Sasuke-kun doing? Said anything about me? Ino asked, noticing that Sakura was not going to take the bait. Sasuke is busy, training with Hayate-san, and Naruto is on a mission with Master Jiraiya. So you are all alone? There is still Kakashi-sensei, remember? Trust me, I simply can't allow myself to take it easy. But what about you? I didn't realize that you had so little to do. Hey, not my fault, you know. Asuma-sensei resumed our training sessions now that he is back, so don't say like I am slacking off. Ino looked offended. And when is your next training session? Let's see. Ino looked at a clock mounted on the wall right over the counter. In 2 hours, when I will be closing the shop. Can't wait actually, the day has been so slow. You think I might come along? To our team training? Why? Ino blinked in confusion at her friend's request. To be honest, because I have little idea what to do with my free time. Lately I have been either training, or doing missions, or resting trying to recover for the next day. Now that Kakashi gave me some time off, I found myself without anything to do. Strange. But I see why not. I see no harm in you coming. Maybe Asuma-sensei will allow you to join us in training and all. It could actually be fun. Ino grinned. This could turn out to be another competition between them, and Ino was eager to win. Thanks. Oh, I almost forgot. Listen, my mom wanted me to buy some flowers for our kitchen. Can you help me pick? Sure, that is what I am awesome at. Ino nodded and went into her florist mode. When it came to flower arrangement, Ino was an expert, and that was one of the few fields where even Sakura admitted the superiority of her friend. Kisame felt how his hand was grabbed by someone. Despite his best effort, Kisame was unable to move his hand even an inch, and it was clear that there was only one person around who could do that. Kisame scowled as he looked back, only for his face to meet with Jiraiya's fist that sent the tall man flying back like a bullet, landing roughly on his back. Jiraiya. I hope to avoid us meeting. Itachi didn't seem concerned by the appearance of the famous shinobi who had just forced Kisame down, a feat impossible for most. Let go of him, Itachi, or I will make you. I am sorry, we have our own uses for Naruto here. Itachi's fingers dug deeper into Naruto's throat, completely cutting off his air supply. You were always smart, Itachi. Hurting my student is not something a smart person would do. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes, and Itachi felt that began sinking. Almost in an instant the ground beneath his feet turned into a swamp, and Itachi released Naruto, who immediately kicked off the wall, jumped over to Jiraiya, who never took his eyes off Itachi. The rogue ninja jumped back, before sinking to deep, and looked at Jiraiya. Want to proceed, Itachi? Jiraiya crossed his hands on his chest, daring the Uchiha to oppose him. Itachi tilted his head, looking over Jiraiya with his Sharingan. This battle would without a doubt end with the death of both Itachi and Kisame. That could hardly be considered productive. Sometimes aborting a mission was the best course of action, especially if it allowed to come back and try again at a later date. Perhaps some other time then. Kisame, get up. Tisk. The blue-skinned man got up, massaging his chin, and sent Naruto a nasty look. If only he could go all out, there wouldn't even be dust left of the brat that managed to humiliate him. The two rogue nins slowly moved back and then disappeared. Hey, why did you let them get away, pervy sage? Naruto turned to Jiraiya after rubbing his sore throat. Without a doubt Itachi left a nice bruise, but Naruto healed fast, especially when it came down to minor injuries. This was not the place or time for getting into a fight with such men, Naruto. You did good avoiding them until I got here. If you weren't such a perv, this never would have happened. Who were those guys? The creep that caught me had eyes like Sasuke. That was Uchiha Itachi, Naruto. A man who slaughtered all of his kin, except for his younger brother. That was Sasuke's brother? So, he is that bastard Sasuke wants to kill. Perfectly justified if you asked me. And the other one? Hashigaki Kisame. A rogue ninja, a former member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. Jiraiya revealed the identity of the blue-skinned creep. Like Zabuza? Man, do all of those swordsmen carry huge swords and have a nasty attitude? Their swords are special, rare ninja artifacts that are designed to have special abilities. Now get up, we have to get out of here before a crowd gathers. Back to the hotel? Yes, but only to grab our stuff. We will leave the town immediately after that. I don't want to stay here any longer after all the commotion you caused. The officials will be all over the place and I don't want to be stuck with covering the damage. Well, sorry, I had to give you some sort of a signal and fireworks seemed like a pretty good idea at the time. It is hard to think when a guy with a giant sword is running after you. Yeah, you did surprisingly well. Guess that comes with you being the #1 unpredictable ninja. Jiraiya smiled and Naruto replied with his trademark grin. They quickly made it back to their hotel and soon enough were back on the road. At first Naruto was worried that the two rogue ninjas would return, but Jiraiya reassured them that for the time being there was no danger. Hey pervy sage, those two, they were after the fox, right? What makes you think that? Jiraiya looked at his student curiously. What other reason would two high-level rogue ninja for trying to capture me? They seem pretty determined about capturing me alive and I know that if I die, the fur ball is also in trouble. Naruto rubbed his stomach. This fox was nothing but trouble, making his life miserable in ways he couldn't even predict. Yeah, they were after the fox. Don't ask me for what purpose, but you know better than most that the fox is powerful and power makes some people do crazy things. Anyone wanting to have anything to do with the fur ball has to have something wrong with his head. I mean, I want to get stronger and all, but there is power that is just not worth the price. HN. Jiraiya placed his hand on Naruto's head. You got that right? But let's not forget, you still have to train. You got it, pervy sage. Chapter 29. After the confrontation and a chase through the city, there was no sign of Itachi or his partner. Jiraiya seemed convinced that they would not come any time soon and Naruto quickly calmed down, even though he sometimes did look around with caution. But for most of the time his mind was occupied with mastering the Rasengan. Jiraiya made Naruto keep practicing even when they traveled, not that Naruto minded much. Naruto had absolutely no trouble when it came to hard work, but his somewhat short temper often resulted in angry outbursts towards Jiraiya's sly remarks regarding his progress. The Toad Sage would never admit it, but Naruto was progressing faster than he had anticipated. Still, there was no reason to give the brat any more reason to feel proud, otherwise he would not hear the end of it. Damn it! Naruto yelled in frustration when a balloon once again exploded in his face. The third and final stage of mastering the Rasengan proved to be the toughest. When it came to the balloon filled with water, it was quite easy once you figured out that you had to force chakra to move in various directions, putting more strain on the balloon and ripping it to shreds eventually. The rubber balls were tougher, but the concept itself was much more straightforward. The key there was power, and power was something Naruto could dish out in amounts second to none. It still required practice, somehow Naruto considered that part the easiest. Now came the final stage and Naruto had real trouble with containing the Rasengan in a perfectly spherical form without the chakra lashing out to rip through the thin balloon. Having trouble? Jiraiya smirked. Oh, shut it, pervy sage, no need to rub it in my face. You know me, I'll get this part done eventually. Naruto declared and tried repeating the exercise. It didn't work out that well for him either. Right, you keep telling yourself that. When is your medic of a teammate is coming? We've been stuck in this dump for over a day now. The minor town they ended up in was famous for only one thing, a large gambling hall. There was absolutely no chance that Tsunade would miss this place, but Jiraiya expected her to arrive yesterday, so something must have delayed her. She'll come. But you should be more worried about that exercise you are struggling with, because I see very little progress. Ugh. Naruto wanted to say something, but just turned back to his work with a grumpy look. That went on for another 2 hours until Jiraiya suddenly stood up. Come brat, let's go meet my old teammate, Jiraiya declared with a grin. Huh? How do you know she arrived? You've been here the entire time. The Toad Mountain Sage knows and sees many things, Jiraiya said cryptically, enjoying how cool that sounded. A lame way to say none of your business is you asked me. Naruto didn't look impressed, but still stood up and followed the sulking sage out of their hotel room. It seemed that Jiraiya knew exactly where to go, leading them both to a rather low-quality restaurant that more resembled a bar. Mind if we take a seat? Naruto saw that they approached a table that was currently occupied by two women. One was a lady with rather short raven hair, dressed in a plain-looking kimono. There was nothing that stood out in her image, not counting a cute pig that was blissfully asleep on the seat next to her. The other person was hiding by the large menu, until she slowly lowered it. Jiraiya. The voice was both tired and annoyed. What? Naruto pointed at the blonde woman that had just lowered the menu. That is your teammate, Naoe. Who is that loudmouth, Jiraiya? Tsunade sighed. Oh, just a genin I decided to teach a thing or two, look after the younger generation, share my awesome skills to make sure they don't disappear. Jiraiya shrugged, taking a seat opposite of Tsunade and her assistant, who looked curious over what was taking place. Naruto reluctantly also took a seat, looking at Tsunade with mistrust. So, brat, why do you think I can't be the teammate of that white-haired idiot? I am not an idiot, Jiraiya opposed, but all present turned to him with a look that practically screamed the opposite. Pfft, 'cause you don't look his age, lady. Either he is lying, or he was a genin until he was like 30 years old, something I doubt. Ha, you picked a nice one, Jiraiya. Tsunade leaned back with a laugh and then turned to Naruto. But it is true, we used to be on the same team. Right, I don't buy that. I actually think that all this time we were looking for you for a totally different reason. That being? He is one hell of a perv, lady. Go look in a mirror and do the math. Naruto turned to Jiraiya with a frown. He'd better not be right, Jiraiya. Tsunade glared at her former teammate, who began sweating. Brat, Tsunade is one of the few women I would never try to peep on. The reason is simple, she scares me. Ha, still remember that beating I gave you? You'd better remember, try that again and I won't go easy on you, pervert. So you really are teammates? Naruto asked in disbelief. What's the catch? Tell him. Tsunade leaned back with a shrug. Swanda uses a complex illusion to look so young, Naruto. You know women can go to great lengths to conceal their true age. Illusion? Naruto turned to Swanda with wide eyes. Impressive, isn't it? I developed the skill personally. Tsunade explained with a hint of pride in her voice. Ha! You are a fake. Just an old granny trying to look all young and pretty, lame. The roles were reversed. Now Jiraiya was laughing at Tsunade's expense, while the medic looked ready to murder the loudmouth brat. Shizune was actually worried for the boy. Her master had a very short temper. Alright, let's cut the crap, Jiraiya. Why are you here, and don't try telling me that you just ran into me on pure coincidence. Why, that could have happened, Jiraiya offered, but Tsunade narrowed her eyes, so the Toad Sage decided not to try his luck playing on her nerves. Sensei wants you to come back. Does that have something to do with the invasion that took place? Yes. Sensei decided that with his age, he should step down as he already did once. He requires someone to take over as the Hokage. What? Surprisingly, that came from Naruto. How come you failed to mention that, pervy sage? I had no idea we were looking for a new Hokage. Relax, brat, I have no intention of becoming Hokage, not worth it. Eh? Naruto turned to Tsunade. Don't look at me like that, kid. Who on earth would willingly become Hokage? A job for fools with a death wish. Oh. Jiraiya rubbed his face, noticing how serious Naruto had become after those words. I dreamed to become Hokage, lady. Really now? Well, that just proves what I said, because you certainly fill the criteria of a fool and your orange outfit tells me that you have a death wish. Swanda smirked. For a moment Jiraiya thought that Naruto was going to pounce the woman, but surprisingly the boy remained seated. Whatever, the village is better off without some old grandma trying to look young, who also happens to be a coward. But for the future, don't call the old man a fool, lady, or you might be forced to eat those words. Tsunade tilted her head looking at the boy. His words irritate, but to a degree also amused her. She also noted that the boy seemed to be close with her former sensei. Big words, runt? Who is going to make me eat them, you? I don't fight old ladies, you might sprain your back, or twist your ankle, or I don't know. Go sit on a rocking chair or something, like old ladies should. After all, you are no shinobi. You dare. I am one of the legendary Sannin. Maybe you used to be, but now you are just a pathetic gambler and a coward, afraid to even admit her age. Whatever rights you had for that title are long gone. Tsunade stood up, gripping the edge of the table so hard that cracks began to appear. You are asking for it, brat. Calling me a coward? Then why not show me what you've got, or are you yourself turning a bit yellow, afraid that an old lady will spank you? Fine, you asked for it, grandma, bring it on. Naruto could not take it any longer as he jumped up. Let's take it outside. Fine by me, brat. I should have guessed this would happen. Jiraiya rubbed his forehead as his teammate and apprentice marched outside. How did your training go, Sasuke? The Uchiha spun around and saw Kakashi hanging upside down outside of his apartment's window. He had just returned home after another session with 8. It was amazing that a man that looked to be incredibly sick actually could move around so much without getting tired. His instructions were detailed, demonstrations complex, allowing Sasuke to understand every little detail when it came to using a sword. As any weapon, it didn't tolerate carelessness. The first thing Hate drilled into Sasuke is to respect this weapon, to see it not as just some tool, but a lethal extension of his own body. Sasuke admitted to himself that he somewhat liked the concept. Kakashi. Heard of knocking? I might have been busy with private matters. Right, like what, a girlfriend? When you get one, I'll shave my head. There are also other things that are private. Sasuke objected. The idea of having a girl around irritated him. Most of the girls he came across were useless, annoying, loud, and for some reason convinced that he was their true love. That was just sick. Sasuke, your life is divided between missions, training, and sleeping. So the chances of me walking in you doing something personal were quite slim. Let me guess, your idea for the evening was to come home, take a shower, go to bed. Exiting. Kakashi spoke in a tone that made Sasuke itch towards the sword he left in the corner. What do you want, Kakashi? Sasuke decided to not talk about things that were annoying. Just wanted to see how you are doing. You are my student after all. Hade says you are progressing nicely. If he says so. How is Sakura doing? Oh, why such a question? Her inability to protect herself is a hindrance during the missions. I can't respect a teammate that requires protecting, and I hate working with people that I don't respect. She is doing fine. I think she will be a nice support for you and Naruto. She actually takes it serious. She even decided to train with Asuma's team when I gave her a day off. Tisk, we'll see. Sasuke, show some belief in your teammate. I believe things I see, Kakashi. You know, I learned one thing from the battle with Gaara. Do tell. I wasn't able to beat him. Naruto also wasn't able to beat him. But when we combined our power, we defeated him. You speak about teamwork and I see what you mean. But in order for that to work, all members of the team must be strong enough in order to not pull their teammates down. I can rely on Naruto, make sure that I will be able to rely on Sakura too, and this team might actually work. And will they be able to rely on you, when they will need you? Kakashi asked seriously. I can't hope to rely on their strength without offering the same, sensei. Like Toro said, any creation is only as strong as its foundation. Well, I am glad you think so. Kakashi gave his student his weird eye smile and disappeared. Better buy curtains tomorrow. Sasuke made a mental note. Lady Tsunade, please reconsider, this is no place or time for. Stay out of it, Shizune. Tsunade didn't turn to her assistant, who also ran out. Jiraiya calmly remained standing in the doorway as Naruto and Tsunade faced off in the middle of the street. Well, aren't you going to prove me wrong, runt? Tsunade asked with a fake smile. I've got nothing to prove, old lady. You wanted this, not me. Perhaps. But let's make it interesting. I'll admit that you are right if you will land a hit on me. One hit shouldn't be that hard. I'll even throw in this necklace. Tsunade-sama. Shizune gasped when she heard that. Her master never in her life made a bet involving that necklace. Why would I want that junk? Whatever you are on. Oh no. Hear the end of it. Should you fail, you will admit that your dream of becoming Hokage is a dream of a fool. That is the same as admitting that I myself am a fool, lady. In a way, I think I am, still better than who you are. If not giving up means being a fool, I'd rather be one. OS, there you are. I admit without any fights that I am a fool and becoming Hokage is my dream. But I will not forgive you for insulting the old man. Naruto growled in charge. Tsunade sighed, but raised a single finger. That was all she would need. When Naruto got closer, she lashed out with a fast strike, aiming to simply throw the kid back with her impressive strength. But the brat flipped back, narrowly avoiding the strike. He went low trying to get closer, but again was forced to avoid a strike. Naruto rolled to the side and noticed how Tsunade's finger tore through the ground with enough force to create a large crack. What, not so eager to fight an old lady, brat? Tsunade mocked Naruto, who was crouching down a small distance away. The woman had monstrous strength to cause so much damage with a single strike. Shadow Clone Jutsu! Shadow clones? Tsunade had to admit that a genin using such a technique was unusual. But it wouldn't really matter. She lazily dispatched 2 clones that attacked her head-on and saw that the remaining 2 the moment to flank her. Now the clones were sliding on the ground, aiming to propel her into the air with a series of kicks. Per performance, brat! Tsunade raised her knee, stopping one of the strikes, and grabbed the other 2 with her hands. With a smirk, she slammed the clones together, reducing them to harmless wisps of smoke, and then did the same to the last one, delivering a kick to his face. Raag! Tsunade with a bored look took a step back when yet another clone dropped from above. It actually smashed against the ground so hard that it disappeared without her having to do anything, but then she saw that something was left on the ground. What is? Tsunade coughed when she was suddenly surrounded by strange dark smoke that made it hard to breathe. She never expected the brat to utilize such weapons. With a frown she stomped, creating a shockwave powerful enough to blow the foul smoke away. Ow! Tsunade felt something hit the back of her head. She looked back and saw another Naruto who was playing with a rock. A similar one had just hit her. Next time I might throw a kunai, old lady. Why, do your eyes hurt? Naruto laughed, noticing how a pissed-off Tsunade rubbed her eyes. She was in the smoke only for a short while, but quickly understood how unpleasant that thing was, but her pride was hurting far more than her eyes. Without a word she dashed forward so fast that Naruto couldn't even react. She grabbed the Naruto who was in front of her, but he disappeared in a puff of smoke as he exchanged places with the clone during the moment of distraction he had when Tsunade was in the smoke. Hey, what gives, Granny? I thought you said I'd win if I landed a hit on you. A rock to the head counts as a hit if you asked me. Naruto protested. Damn, you never got better at gambling, Tsunade. You managed to lose a bet even to a genin. Jiraiya laughed. Trusted to Naruto to humiliate a senior ninja and make it look like some sort of a prank. Sure, Tsunade never took the brat serious, but that was her own mistake. TSK, you want this necklace, brat? You sure? Those who wore it before you also had the dream of becoming Hokage. They died soon after they placed the thing around their necks. I wonder how long will you last? Oh, shut it, Grandma. I don't know who you are talking about, but at least they sound like good people who wanted to protect the village. But I guess you'd call them fools too. Don't speak of things you don't understand, brat. That dream kills people, and this necklace symbolizes that. That dream is a curse, as is this constant reminder. Tsunade gripped the simple-looking necklace around her neck. A curse? Naruto growled. What do you know of curses, you old hag? More than you, apparently. Look at you. You are just a kid with a foolish dream of becoming Hokage. A child who doesn't realize that all those who held the title have died, and those who wanted to attain that title also died. There is only one exception, my old sensei, but I hardly think he lived a nice life having to bear that burden. You like to speak of curses and burdens, old lady, you just know nothing of dealing with them. All you know is how to run, like a coward that you are. And what would a brat like you know? Huh! Tsunade gasped in shock when Naruto suddenly moved so fast that his image turned to a blur. Tsunade leaned to the side, feeling how something passed her. She spun around, avoiding Naruto's strike, but did score a glancing strike on her forearm, his now clawed hand leaving 2 shallow cuts. Like my curse, Grandma? Imagine living with this in your gut. Naruto lashed out with a barrage of strikes, trying to reach Tsunade, who began moving back, avoiding the onslaught. She recognized that aura and that chakra that now filled the boy. Strangely, he didn't seem to lose himself, just kept attacking. I am Uzumaki Naruto. Whatever curse you have, I'll take it head on and will turn it into a blessing. Naruto made a grabbing motion, reaching for Tsunade's throat, and the woman had no choice but to take a more active approach in her defense. A single strike to the chest and Naruto flew back through the air, coughing out blood. He landed some distance away, the menacing aura fading away, leaving only his prone unconscious form on the ground. You could have warned me about that, Jiraiya. Blame yourself. Nobody asked you to piss of a Jinchuriki? Jiraiya rolled his eyes. Shizune finally lowered her hands she used to cover her mouth while observing the fight. Better make sure I didn't go too far. Tsunade approached the boy and saw a trail of blood running down Naruto's chin. Her body visibly tensed, and the medical ninja had to force herself to tear her gaze away from the sight. Shizune, handle the boy. Yes, Tsunade-sama. Shizune kneeled in front of the genin, inspecting him for any serious injuries her master might have caused. Tsunade in the meantime tried to calm down, rubbing her neck, when she felt something missing. She immediately turned back to the boy and saw that his hand still clutched her necklace. Back then he didn't reach out for her throat, he grabbed her necklace. Chapter 30. Shizune gently lowered Naruto onto the bed in a nearby hotel room. The boy was not going to wake up until morning, but surprisingly he didn't suffer any serious injuries after Tsunade's blow. Naturally, she used only a fraction of her true strength, but even that was potentially very dangerous. Shizune knew better than many that a real blow would have turned Naruto into a bloody mess of broken bones and torn flesh. So he is the jailer for the fox. I somehow expected him to be different. Tsunade leaned on the wall, watching as her assistant worked on Naruto, making sure that the boy would not need any kind of special treatment. How so? Jiraiya asked, also coming into the room. Tsunade didn't answer, just sighed. She took back her necklace from the boy and put it back around her neck. For a simple-looking thing, the necklace had a surprisingly long and somewhat dark history. It wasn't really clear if it was the necklace that caused the bearer to die, or if it was the cruelty of the world, but Tsunade didn't want to let anyone wear it. For her it felt like sending another into the clutches of death. I need a drink. Take care of the brat, Shizune. Tsunade walked outside. Drinking alone is depressing. I'll go give your master some company, Shizune. Take care. Jiraiya smiled and followed his former teammate. Shizune wasn't surprised that the two Sannin had left. They had much catching up to do and many things to discuss. There was no need for others to be present, especially not an obnoxious loudmouth brat that surprisingly managed to humiliate a ninja many years senior. Mind some company? Jiraiya took a seat next to Tsunade in a nearby sake stand. Wasn't the best of places, but perfect for those who wanted to keep a low profile. The man running the place served an order quickly and went back to minding his own business. He long since learned that usually people here preferred their conversations to remain private. Besides, the less he knew, the less trouble he had. Since Jiraiya and Tsunade both paid in advance, he had no problem with giving them a chance to talk without being disturbed. What do you want, Jiraiya? I already told you that I have no intention of becoming the next Hokage. Tsunade spoke slowly, not looking up from her bottle of sake. Not really my problem. You can sort that out with the old man. He just told me to get you back to the village. I'd prefer if you went willingly, Tsunade. After all, you are still a shinobi of Konoha. Heh, figures you'd say something like that. Tsunade smirked and said nothing else. Jiraiya waited for her to speak, but she just took another sip of sake, so the Toad Sage decided to change the subject for the moment. So, why did you say Naruto is not the weight you expected him to be? The brat? I thought it was obvious, Jiraiya. He has a tailed beast sealed up inside of him. Having such a burden, though he would grow up knowing the harsh reality of this world, but he is a stupid idealist, proclaiming his foolish dream of becoming Hokage. He knows the harsh reality and cruelty of this world better than most. Tsunade, don't speak of things you don't know. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes. Care to enlighten me? He knows pain, knows loneliness, even knows betrayal. The difference is just that he never backs down, never runs away from problems. He has the guts to never give up. Can you say that about yourself, since I think that kid had a point when he called you a coward? You are crossing the line, Jiraiya. Tsunade scowled. Truth hurts? Face it, Tsunade, all these years you've been running away from your past, but guess what, it doesn't leave you. Naruto knows that the only way to deal with problems is to face them head on. Nawaki and Dan are dead, Tsunade, accept it. I doubt they wanted you to be like this. Accept? I accepted that long ago, Jiraiya. I never hoped for a chance to see them again, talk to them, and yet I got that chance not so long ago. What are you talking? Orochimaru. Jiraiya realized. That is why you arrived a day late. What did he want? For me to heal someone or something like that. He promised to bring Dan and Nawaki back in exchange for that favor. And you believed him? It doesn't matter. It is just that I want to believe that being possible. It is, in a way. After the jutsu that can do that comes from your family, Tsunade. You don't mean? Yes, Tsunade, I mean exactly that. He brought back your grandfather and his brother during the invasion. Yeah, I certainly can picture Orochimaru pulling something like that off. The woman shook her head and took another sip of sake. About Orochimaru, one thing was bugging me. Only one? Are you perhaps speaking about another Orochimaru? Stop fooling around, Jiraiya. Tsunade fought down an urge to smack him over the head. We both know that Orochimaru is not someone who would be concerned over the health of others. Why would he go through all this trouble to just make me treat someone? I cannot theorize since we lack any solid information, but I guess he wants you to help a man named Kimimaro. Never heard of him. Kaguya Kimimaro. Don't joke, Jiraiya, that clan was wiped out. Except for a sole survivor. A unique bloodline, and you know that Orochimaru is fascinated with things that are unique. He is a collector in a way. I doubt he just wants to protect a part of his collection, Tsunade remarked. Of course not. He wants to protect his own body. I see you are puzzled. Jiraiya, I have little patience with your riddles right now, just talk. Alright, don't get all man, Tsunade. They say anger adds wrinkles, not that anyone would notice under that illusion. Jiraiya couldn't help but smirk as he irritated his former teammate. Anyhow, didn't you feel something odd when you met Orochimaru? Like he wasn't exactly himself. Now that you mention it, he did seem strange. Tsunade nodded. The snake developed a way to shed skin, as in change bodies. A soul transfer technique, his way of achieving immortality. And that Kimimaro is his next shell? Precisely. You think Orochimaru would settle for a simple plain body without anything special about it? No, he wouldn't, that is true. How do you know about this, Kimimaro? Let's just say Orochimaru has too many enemies and one provided us with some very interesting information. Now that you told me about Orochimaru's request, his plans became clearer. What is he planning then? He wants the Sharingan, but since that clan was nearly wiped out, his options are limited. Itachi is beyond his reach, so that leaves only the younger brother, Sasuke. But now we know about his plan and the old man took some precautions. Unfortunately, one thing Orochimaru has is time. Since getting Sasuke would be a complicated task, he decided to make sure he had an alternative body when he would need it. So, this is a way for him to keep moving towards his ambition. Tsunade understood. He will arrive here in a couple of days, I'll have an answer by then. But for now I need to think. Tsunade stood up and left the sake stand, deciding to take a calm walk around the streets. This time Jiraiya didn't follow her. He told her what he wanted her to know, so it was up to her to sort through the information and come to some kind of a conclusion. Hey, set me up with another one. Jiraiya ordered more sake. He really hoped that the Uchiha wasn't having trouble with the cursed seal. Without a doubt you progress very quickly, a Sharingan is a great asset. Hate nodded when Sasuke demonstrated what he had learned so far. The young Uchiha nodded and sheathed the sword. He knew that in order to truly master a weapon he would need much more time, but now he was confident enough to use it in actual combat. There are supposed to be ninjutsu technique incorporated into this style. Yes, that is true. Why? The move I have in mind is based on the use of another technique. You must learn it first. So, what technique is that? Sasuke asked, trying to hide his curiosity. It was a hopeless task when dealing with a ninja many years senior. Shadow Clone Jutsu. You mean Naruto's jutsu? Yes, but you need Kakashi's permission to learn. It is very dangerous. Can't be that bad if the dobe uses it on daily occasions. Naruto is a special case. He has more chakra than most jounins. The shadow clones can deplete chakra so quickly that one can die. Your teammate though has enough chakra to use the jutsu without any worries. So I can't use the jutsu? You can, just not like Naruto. You won't be able to create dozens of clones without feeling immense strain. But I will be able to use it for the jutsu you have in mind? Yes. Hate nodded and covered his mouth as he coughed once more. Sasuke was already so used to it that he didn't even notice Hate's cough anymore. I guess I'll talk to Kakashi tomorrow. I'll return once I learn and master the technique. Sure, you do that. Don't forget to take care of your weapon. Sasuke nodded and walked off. Learning to take care of a sword was one of the first things Sasuke learned. Unlike kunai and shuriken that only needed to be sharpened occasionally, the sword demanded much more attention. Sasuke's day usually ended with a routine of polishing and sharpening the sword. He soon learned that he even had trouble going to sleep without doing that. Sasuke also got a bit attached to his weapon. Sure, there was nothing special about it, but it was a trophy and his first weapon of choice. Without a doubt he would remember his first katana throughout his life. Shizune could appreciate some peace and quiet. Tonton was asleep in the corner of the room, while Naruto would remain sleeping through the night. Since the boy didn't need to be looked after, Shizune just settled down in an armchair to read some kind of a novel she found in her own traveling bag. She had no idea when or where she picked it up, but when traveling with Tsunade you could often forget such details. The plot of the story wasn't very good, but it did allow you to pass the time, and Shizune wasn't very picky when it came to literature. Bah, where is the old hag? Shizune nearly fell out of the armchair when she heard someone yell. She looked up and saw Naruto sitting up on the bed. He seemed a bit disoriented as he was looking around wildly. Naruto-kun, you shouldn't be up and moving. Shizune approached the boy. He wasn't supposed to be even awake, but somehow he recovered much more quickly than she thought possible. Huh! Oh hi, you are the old hag's assistant. Shizune, right? I am Uzumaki Naruto. Pleased to meet you. Shizune nodded, realizing that they were never properly introduced. So, where is Pervy Sage and the old lady with a nasty temper? She and Jiraiya-sama went to talk. Oh, well, Pervy Sage better convince her to come back to the village. Naruto nodded and got off the bed, stretching his arms. I thought you didn't want Lady Tsunade to become Hokage, Shizune pointed out. Of course not. I just know that she is a great medical ninja and I have a friend who needs help. So the perv better not screw this up. I am sure everything will work out, Naruto-kun. Yeah, sure. Anyway, I better get back to my training, Naruto declared. I think we are not supposed to leave, and I also think you should take it easy after your fight with Lady Tsunade. She hit you pretty hard. Nah, that was nothing, I had worse. As for training, I don't need to go anywhere, just need to get the stuff. Now where did I put it? Naruto began to search through his pockets, panic showing on he seemed to fail find whatever he was looking for. Finally, with relief, he pulled out a simple balloon out of his inner pocket. Shizune with some surprise watched as the boy sat down concentrating on the thing after he blew it up slightly. She saw the balloon stir a bit, and then it suddenly exploded with a loud bang, waking up Tonton, who instantly dived under the bed. Damn! Naruto cursed as a piece of a balloon smacked him in the face. I gather that is not supposed to happen? Shizune asked. No, I supposed to do it without getting the damn thing blown to bits, but I just can't seem to contain the chakra. I have no idea what is going on inside of that balloon, Naruto-kun. I guess I can show. Naruto began forming his incomplete Rasengan, the amount of rapidly spinning chakra shocking Shizune. But she quickly understood what was the problem. The chakra often lashed out instead of being concentrated in a compact spherical form. Maybe a bit less chakra, you will have an easier time containing it, Shizune offered. No, that won't do. For this to work I need to pull out lots of chakra or it will be weak. I understand, but why not start with a lower amount of chakra, make a stable form and then keep adding chakra until you will reach your limit. After that you will just have to keep working to increase the limit until you will reach the needed level. It is like training muscles. You don't immediately start with very heavy weights, but methodically increase it. Oh, I get it. Let me try it. Naruto repeated the exercise, limiting the amount of chakra he used. To his surprise, maintain a simple spherical form was quite easy this way, so he added chakra. Slowly the strain began to show until Naruto was struggling with the jutsu. He added his second hand and kept going until finally the chakra escaped from his control. Awesome! Naruto seemed pleased. That is far better than I usually do. You are awesome, Shizune-san. Thanks, I guess. What is that jutsu called? I never saw or heard of anything similar. Oh, that is the Rasengan, or I suppose it will be the Rasengan when I get it done. Looks powerful, even the incomplete version. You bet it will be awesome. Naruto grinned and then resumed the exercise using the method suggested by Shizune. Tsunade was in one of those moods when even sake couldn't really affect her. Despite her effort, the alcohol did not help pull her mind away from the problems at hand. Constantly being on the move, forgetting herself in gambling and occasional drinking, she was indeed trying to move away from the tragedies that still haunted her. And now this. First Orochimaru comes, a traitor she once trusted, then Jiraiya shows up with a brat that resembles Nawaki so much that it was painful. To make matters worse, that brat shared the same dream as those Tsunade dreamed to see and embrace. He was like a reincarnation of their beliefs. But those dreams could bring only death, and her necklace was a clear symbol of that. The kid just didn't know what he was talking about. Or perhaps he did and didn't care. It could be that Jiraiya was right and the boy was eager to place his life on the line not because of some foolish childish ambition. Perhaps there was something more, something that Dan and Nawaki knew and were willing to risk their lives for. Tsunade once more realized that it wasn't the dream itself, but the reason for that dream that actually showed the true nature of a person. Tsunade needed an answer. Huh! Tsunade opened the door to their hotel room and saw Shizune observing Naruto as he tried to perform a jutsu. Tsunade immediately identified as the initial stages of the Rasengan. To her surprise, the boy got quite far. Oh, Lady Tsunade, we... Shizune stood up, while Naruto looked at Tsunade with obvious distaste. Brat, we need to talk. Eh? You want us to fight again? No, I just need to ask you something. Tsunade crossed her arms on her chest waiting for the genin to comply. Clearly he didn't want to interrupt his training, but got up with a frown and followed the woman out into the corridor. So, what do you want, old hag? Hag? Why, I ought to. Tsunade took a deep breath and calmed down. Listen, you said you wanted to become Hokage, right? Yeah, and you said that it is a stupid dream. That I did. Listen, why do you want to become Hokage? Do you want to be seen as the most powerful ninja or something? It is not like that. Naruto scratched his head, a bit surprised by the question. Why do you want to know anyway? Just answer. Pfft. I guess at first I wanted to be Hokage just so that everyone would acknowledge me, but I figured that it doesn't work that way. You don't get acknowledged if you become Hokage, you become Hokage if you are acknowledged. But I've found people who have become my friends, Irika-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura, Sasuke and others. I must get stronger to protect them and the village, and that means becoming Hokage. But I guess you just think having friends and caring about them is stupid. No, not at all, kid. Tsunade shook her head. It is just that all those I could want to protect like that are dead. That is sad, but I figured you'd want to prevent such things from happening. Nothing will change if you just keep moving around and gambling. Whatever, I sure won't sit still feeling sorry for myself. Been there, done that, and you know, that is the worst thing you can do. People will die no matter what you do, Naruto. Tsunade stated firmly. Maybe so. But you know, if it comes down to that, I'll do whatever it takes to save them. I tried, sometimes you can't save them. I care for them more than I care for myself. If I can't protect them, then I'll try to die instead of them. You know, those that died and whose names are engraved on the memorial stone, I think they knew that their deaths meant that someone else could live on. To die like that, it makes it worth it. Tsunade took an involuntary step back when Naruto finished talking. His reasons were different than what she expected to hear. Without a doubt he knew the risks. When you say that becoming a Hokage is a dream of a fool, you insult all those whose names are engraved on the memorial stone and who made a sacrifice that you consider stupid. I wonder, is there anyone left willing to die for you? Chapter 31. Even though Orochimaru often allowed passions to control his goals, he rarely allowed them to influence his immediate actions. In a way, he was an epitome of a true shinobi. His whole life was a lie. Even those closest to him often were misguided when his true motives were concerned. Orochimaru turned deception into an art. He could talk beautifully as he was a skilled orator. He had an amazing talent of convincing others, forcing them to do his bidding even without them realizing it. Orochimaru was a powerful shinobi capable of holding his own and surviving battles with the best ninjas the world had to offer. But unlike many, he didn't believe only in physical prowess. That was what made Orochimaru stand out. His schemes, plots, his cunning and traitorous nature were his most invaluable tools that provided him with everything he needed or desired. Deception, not might, was his primary weapon, and also patience. Lord Orochimaru, how can you be sure that she will agree with your proposal? Kabuto asked. He didn't like the idea of turning to Tsunade, partially because her skills as a medic made him seem insignificant. But that was the difference between him and his master. Orochimaru could readily admit his own faults, and used his skills to obtain methods or individuals to correct them. My dear Kabuto, I can't be sure of anything, but when dealing with someone I prefer to target the most vulnerable aspect of human nature. Attachments. Many ninjas have lived through the tragedies similar to hers. Her grief does not necessarily make her weak. Yes, of course. Such ordeals can be painful for most, but they have an amazing ability to make others stronger. They work as motivators, or constant reminders of a price of failure. But you don't know Tsunade, Kabuto. Yes, that is true. Her image is that of a legend, but a legend covered in mist. That mist is her protection, just like that illusion she constantly keeps up. You see, Kabuto, Tsunade has one major weakness: she is incapable of letting go of her past. It still rules her life, her every action. She is trying to run away from it, but obviously fails to do so. But she lacks the strength to face it, and thus she remains weak and easy to manipulate. I offered her a chance to correct the tragedies that haunt her, and she will accept my offer. It is hard to imagine a shinobi so powerful and skilled to be so incredibly fragile. It basically makes me pity her. Oh my, are you growing soft, Kabuto? You should know better that I can readily kill anyone, even those you might think I am attached to. What you see is just an image I use. Because you have no true identity of your own, Kabuto. For a spy it is quite useful being a nobody, for that means that you can be anybody, with the right motivation. You are so incredibly dangerous. She is coming. Kabuto never said anything regarding Orochimaru's comment, instead looking straight at Tsunade, who appeared on the other end of the street, followed closely by her assistant Shizune. Tsunade, we were just talking about you. Orochimaru's smile sent shivers down Shizune's spine. Everything about that man screamed that he was someone you should avoid no matter what. I don't care about that, Orochimaru. Yes, you clearly don't. You seem impatient, Tsunade. And you seem slimy. Oh wait, you are. You haven't lost that dry sense of humor you always had, and I suppose you still have those violent outbursts. I can demonstrate one of those unless you cut the crap. Very well. Let's avoid useless chatter and discuss what really interests both of us. Well, what do you say to my offer? I might agree, Orochimaru. Tsunade frowned and Shizune tensed at those words. But I can't enter into any kind of agreements without knowing what I will have to exactly, or will I be able to? I am sure you will amaze us with your skills. Enough with the flattery. I want details about that ninja you want me to heal. Kabuto. Orochimaru turned his head slightly and gave a short, barely visible nod. Kabuto reached for something inside of his shirt, making Tsunade and her assistant narrow her eyes, but instead of a weapon pulled out a folder which he tossed to the former teammate of his master. Tsunade scanned through the medical notes. I see, your subordinate is skilled at medical jutsu. Oh my, you were able to tell that much from his medical notes? Much can be told about a person considering the techniques he applies to his patient. Your subordinate knows much about human anatomy, medical ninjutsu, and other disciplines necessary for a medical ninja, but that doesn't make him one. Kabuto raised his eyebrow. You heard me, you know how to modify a person or kill him, but not how to restore him to his full potential. You are a butcher, not a medical ninja. Don't be so hard on Kabuto, Tsunade, he after all just carries out my orders. Orochimaru smirked, his long tongue appearing for a second. Figures. As for your sick guy, yes, he can be treated and can make a full recovery with time, provided he gets the needed treatment and medicine. Is that a yes, Tsunade? Just a statement of facts. Catch. Swanda threw the folder back to Kabuto, who caught it on pure reflex, but then barely avoided a barrage of needles sent at him by Shizune. Get back here! Tsunade yelled when Orochimaru jumped back, avoiding her kick that tore through the ground. She lost none of her brutal strength. Orochimaru didn't expect Tsunade to deny his offer, let alone attack him, yet she seemed pretty determined. Her punch met the trunk of the tree Orochimaru landed on, and that was enough to tear it down completely. Lord Orochimaru, we must move to a more open location, otherwise she will pin us down and… Don't think that you can ignore me. Shizune lashed out with a kick that Kabuto blocked, but then flipped, knocking the spy back with a graceful move. Why do pests like you always interfere? Anything to make your life harder, bastard. Kabuto recognized the voice, and the next moment the needles that lay discarded on the ground turned into several copies of the familiar blonde ninja wearing a bright orange jumpsuit. They grabbed Kabuto's feet, pinning him down, while that last clone wrapped his hands around Kabuto's waist, further limiting his ability to move. Ninja art, poisonous cloud. Shizune exhaled a cloud of dark green smoke that enveloped Kabuto and the clones. It was so thick that Shizune lost sight of her opponent, but heard the clones disappear as they inhaled the poison. But before the poisonous cloud disappeared, Kabuto jumped out of it, wearing a miniature breather mask that he took off once he landed safely in the middle of the street. Behind him, Tsunade had just leveled a stone wall, being in pursuit of Orochimaru, who was luring her into a more open area. Uzumaki Naruto. I didn't expect to see you here, but I highly doubt that your presence is a mere coincidence. Let me guess, the legendary Sannin will have a reunion today? You should be more concerned about us. Shizune declared, facing Kabuto, but Naruto was nowhere to be seen. You might give me a bit of trouble, but that blonde idiot? Please, it is a miracle that he's still alive. He is a failure as a shinobi. He know not the meaning of that world, for he only has his stupid, insignificant dreams. I will end them once he decides to come out, and I know a way to make him. Kabuto tilted his head and charged, activating his chakra scalpel. Shizune tried to block his strike, but immediately cursed herself as Kabuto sliced right through the muscles in her hand, making hand down limply. She moved back, getting some distance, and threw down a smoke bomb with her good hand to cover her retreat, but Kabuto had very keen hearing. He heard faint footsteps and with a quick motion grabbed Shizune, spinning her around. She soon found herself in a headlock with one hand wrapped around her throat, while the other was still holding her only good arm. Well, Naruto, shall you be a hero and come out to save your friend? I doubt you will do a smart thing and run away. You know, many people call me an idiot, so I guess you are right, I won't run. Kabuto, to his shock, heard Shizune speak in Naruto's voice, and the next second he was elbowed in the gut as the hand that hung limply a moment ago came to life. The hold loosened and Kabuto received another strike, this time the elbow smashing into his nose, forcing him to completely let go of the one he thought to be his hostage. Eat this! Naruto released the transformation jutsu, turning back into his original self, and spun around, aiming a nice solid punch to Kabuto's jaw. Ag! Naruto screamed when Kabuto first pushed his punch away and then grabbed Naruto's wrist, the chakra scalpel slicing through the muscles. Kabuto then threw Naruto over his head. The genin flew through the air and smashed against a piece of rubble left by the short engagement between Tsunade and Orochimaru, both Sannin now fighting somewhere in the distance. You will never learn. Kabuto scowled, making his way towards Naruto, but was forced to pull out a kunai and deflect a barrage of saban needles. Shizune stood on the remains of the tree he master tore down, and both her hands worked perfectly. When Naruto replaced her just after the smoke bomb detonated, she used the time he bought to heal her injury. Yes, you without a doubt are an apprentice of the most talented medical ninja in the world to heal your injury in just over a minute. Even though Kabuto didn't look concerned, in reality he hated the situation. His style relied on crippling the opponent, but someone capable to nullify the damage caused could cause trouble. Toro perhaps could endure the pain, but was still limited with the capabilities of his own body. But here an opponent could simply make his attacks useless, provided she had enough time to apply the medical jutsu. Don't turn your back on me, scum! Naruto stood up, hissing from the pain in his wrist. Oh, you still want to go on? But you have nothing now. I know all of your jutsu, and correct me if I am wrong, but the shadow clones and the summoning both require you to use seals, and with the way your hand is, you can't form even the most basic of seals. That won't stop me from kicking you around, Naruto declared and charged. Shizune clearly disapproved of such reckless tactics, but had no choice to support his advance. Kabuto had to pay attention to her, trying to avoid Saban needles, some of which were coated in poison. They were far more dangerous than the sloppy attacks by Naruto, who had no use of his injured hand. Oh, stay down! Kabuto caught one of the poison needles and with a triumphant smirk thrust it right into Naruto's shoulder. Oh no! Shizune covered her mouth, but when she made a step towards Naruto, Kabuto appeared blocking her way. How will it feel to know that the boy will die because of your own creation? Don't worry, I'll let you watch as he suffers because of his own stupidity. Bastard! Shizune narrowed her eyes, but her angry look only seemed to amuse Kabuto. Behind him Naruto was on the ground shivering, the poison clearly taking effect. Without help he would die within minutes. Shizune attacked and Kabuto with some degree of surprise saw that his opponent also activated Chakra Scalpel. Obviously being a medical ninja she knew the technique, and her knowledge of human body could easily rival that of Kabuto. But unlike him, she wasn't specialized in this style. Her moves were precise, but lacked the aggression and desire to kill Kabuto. Once over the initial surprise, Kabuto regained the initiative, the fight becoming fairly one-sided. Like master, like student, both failures. Kabuto leaned back, avoiding a strike, and sent Shizune flying back with a powerful kick. I wonder if the brat died already. I unfortunately don't know what poison you used and how long it. Kabuto stopped speaking when he felt something that made him take a nervous gulp. A menacing aura appeared along with the presence of something so powerful that it became hard to swallow. A failure? Don't you dare call others that, traitor! Naruto roared and jumped forward, the ground exploding under his feet. Kabuto had put his hands in a cross shape to shield himself, but the strike was still strong enough to launch him off his feet into the air. Damn it! Kabuto landed, his hands hurting from withstanding such an impact. The chakra of the nine-tailed fox. He is using it to increase his own regenerative abilities and burn out the poison from his body. Naruto? Shizune got up, but Naruto looked at her with red eyes, making her take a step back. Naruto frowned, but the menacing aura disappeared a few moments later. I hate it when people look at me like that, but I guess when I use this, there is no helping it. Naruto shook his head and turned to Kabuto. Let's do it, traitor, we have a score to settle, that poison hurt like hell. Really now? My compliments, Shizune-san. Kabuto smiled. Shut up! Naruto created several clones and attacked. Kabuto dispatched them one after another, but they just kept coming. The amount of chakra Naruto had to create clones at such rates was simply amazing. Whatever Naruto lacked in style he could compensate by sheer numbers and determination, and very quickly Kabuto realized that he was getting tired. What then? Kabuto looked up and saw Shizune appeared over him with a scroll. It was covered in simple storage seals, and once she released, then Kabuto saw bottles with some sort of liquid fall down. He did his best to avoid them as they landed and broke, showering everything in an unpleasant-looking yellow liquid. The clones nearby were reduced to clouds of smoke, and Kabuto quickly realized why. He wasn't fast enough to avoid a splash of the yellow liquid when a bottle landed nearby. It landed on his left hand, and immediately Kabuto screamed out in pain. It turned out to be some kind of strong acid that was eating right through his skin, causing immense pain. Freaky! Naruto commented as Shizune landed next to him with distaste written all over her face. She hated to use that technique as it made her want to empty her stomach. But Kabuto avoided most of the damage, and even though his hand was now covered in horrid-looking acidic burn, he could still use it. Not giving Kabuto a moment to recover, the remaining clones attacked. It was a reckless, wild assault, and Kabuto tore through them with relative ease, but the strain was showing as he began to breath heavily. What? Kabuto looked back and saw how one of the clones threw the real Naruto straight at him. The boy pulled out a kunai in mid-air, aiming to stab him with his left hand. Not today! Kabuto slid back as he grabbed the hand with the kunai, keeping it away from his chest. Just so that you know, not all jutsu require hand seals. So if you think that by depriving me of one of my hands you make me helpless, think again. That chakra motion? What is that? Kabuto couldn't help but exclaim when he saw a sphere of spinning chakra appear in Naruto's right hand. It seemed that the boy kept pouring more chakra into it, frowning from the strain until he thrust it forward towards Kabuto's chest. No! The traitor used both hands to grab Naruto's right hand and stop the spinning sphere of chakra inches away from his flesh. That actually meant that the kunai in Naruto's left hand reached its target, digging deep into Kabuto's shoulder. But the spy didn't care about that, as he had no desire to get struck by that spinning ball of chakra. Rafuk! Shizune appeared from behind and delivered a strong spin kick to Kabuto's back. The force was enough to send the spy right into Naruto's jutsu that began tearing through his clothes and flesh as Naruto kept pouring chakra into it. Just then it sort of reached some sort of a point when the jutsu began to drill into Kabuto, making Orochimaru's right-hand man scream out in agony. Rasengan! Huh! Shizune was blown off her feet when Kabuto flew past her, propelled forward by the incredible power of Naruto's jutsu. He smashed into the remains of a stone wall that was nearly destroyed by Tsunade. He broke right through it, and a moment later whatever remained of the wall collapsed over him. Yeah, I finally did it. Naruto grinned while still holding the bloodied kunai. Naruto-kun, your hand? Shizune noticed a serious-looking chakra burn on Naruto's hand. The Rasengan wasn't meant to be held onto for so long, as so much concentrated chakra eventually caused damage even to the wielder. Pfft, this is nothing. Let's go help Pervy Sage and the old lady, Naruto said and dashed off in the direction of the battle between the Sannin. Shizune sighed, wondering where he got such incredible energy from, but followed him. Her skills as medic could come in handy in that battle. Only when the duo practically disappeared in the distance, the rubble that covered Kabuto began to move, and some time later the spy pulled himself out, nearly collapsing onto the rocks around him. His clothes were torn, revealing a large, barely healed wound on his chest. To restore his flesh after that last blow he had to use up almost all of his chakra, but otherwise he would be dead by now. He never expected Naruto to pull off a jutsu of such power. Kabuto slumped down to one knee from the strain of moving around. With his chakra depleted, he had no way to take care of non-life-threatening injuries, like numerous bruises and cuts. He just had to endure, but in his current state his ability to be of any use during the battle was under great question. They are going all out, Kabuto muttered when he saw how in the distance three massive forms appeared, a slug, a toad and a snake. The Sannin were not holding anything back. Chapter 32. Orochimaru felt confident facing Tsunade. Sure, he was a bit surprised and quite irritated that she declined his offer to cooperate, but that was mostly inconvenience than any kind of real trouble. As for Tsunade, she was a formidable opponent in her prime, but right now she was far weaker. Not because of her age, but because of her state of mind and her ever-present fear of blood. Taking her out would be easy, but Orochimaru did have a nasty habit of playing with his prey. A rival of his other former teammate was a different story altogether. Jiraiya was always a match for him. Where Orochimaru could succeed using his cunning nature and impressive knowledge and arsenal of jutsu, then Jiraiya could outlast his opponents and overcome their defenses with his highly destructive ninjutsu. Facing both Tsunade and Jiraiya at the same time put Orochimaru at a clear disadvantage. His freshly healed wound began to itch as he remembered his recent encounter with his former master and Jiraiya. That battle nearly killed him. The situation was not much better here, but then again Hiruzen Sarutobi had no obvious weaknesses outside his age, while Tsunade was a totally different story. If Orochimaru could take her out of the equation, then he could turn his full attention to Jiraiya and the outcome of that battle would be decided on relatively equal terms. Unfortunately, his opponents knew that also. Orochimaru required a diversion, to create chaos on the battlefield, spread then attention and only then strike. Summoning Jutsu! Orochimaru slammed his palm against the ground. Despite the level either side was yet to draw blood, though Orochimaru did receive a nice punch to the jaw from Jiraiya, but it was still far better than getting one from Tsunade. Orochimaru? What is the meaning of this? You know very well that I hate being summoned by anyone and you are no exception, Manda roared. Summoning Jutsu! The giant snake turned around and saw two very familiar figures appear. Katsuya the slug and Gamabunta the toad. As you see, I require your aid in battle. I promise to make it worth your while. Orochimaru licked his lips with his long tongue, anticipating a battle worth his power. Yes, I can see that. But for fighting these two you will have to prepare at least 100 sacrifices and not some worthless scum that you yourself don't care about. Hee deal. You know I do have my sources. After hearing that, Manda wasted no time and pounced Gamabunta, baring his venomous fangs. Darn snake! I'll skin you alive! The toad boss grabbed Manda's head and rolled back, slamming his powerful feet into Manda's body, throwing the snake back. Annoying bastard! Manda moved incredibly fast for such a large creature, his long body trying to coil around Gamabunta, but the toad boss jumped into the air, avoiding the dangerous situation. Acidic slime! Katsuyu spat acid. Manda knew the dangers, but had no time to get away. Water style, roaring stream! Orochimaru created a powerful water blast that met acid in mid-air, washing the attack away. Of course, Orochimaru didn't have any warm feelings towards Manda, but having his summon injured was simply not worth it. Ag! Katsuyu was thrown back when Manda smashed his powerful tail into her. Down, lizard! Gamabunta dropped from above right on Manda's back. The giant snake hissed in pain, but unlike lesser summons was incredibly durable and didn't suffer any severe injuries. Unfortunately, Gamabunta himself wasn't counting on that, as he just aimed to pin Manda down. With the snake boss in such an uncomfortable situation, Gamabunta readied his dagger to ram it through Manda's head when suddenly felt something wrap around his chest. Huh! Foolish toad! You are only good for one thing, and that is being my meal! Manda's tail lifted Gamabunta into the air and threw him back. That was the danger of fighting a foe as flexible as Manda. The snake was able to use his whole body as a very dangerous weapon. Get the slug, Manda! Orochimaru instructed. The snake boss hated taking orders, but right now taking out Katsuyu seemed like a valid option. Katsuyu spat acid once more, but Manda twisted his body, avoiding the attack. Bunta, give me oil! Rag! Manda, who was about to sink his teeth into Katsuyu, was forced to move down and disappear under the ground to avoid a devastating fire attack. Even Katsuyu moved back from the heat as the oil began to burn out. Die! Manda appeared from the ground behind Tsunade's summon, and this time there was no stopping him. Summoning Jutsu! Arg! Manda roared in pain when he slammed against something hard, which clearly wasn't Katsuyu's soft flesh. Amazing, he still has this much chakra? Shizune found herself atop of a giant toad. She stood next to Naruto, who had a pleased expression on his face. Hey, I am Naruto Uzumaki, care to help me and the old people with that weirdo? Naruto grinned. The toad he was standing on took a step forward and threw Manda back with his shield and readied the Susumita in his other hand. Of course. I am Gamaken, I will aid in whatever way I can, but I warn you that I am ungraceful. You are awesome. Let's get them. The surprised Manda had to retreat under the barrage of strikes from Gamaken, before quickly dashing back, gaining some room between and his attackers. Orochimaru! What is the meaning of this? You didn't tell me about another foe to deal with, this is getting outside our agreement. TSK. I'll double you payment. Orochimaru growled and looked up. That fox brat, how is he here? Did Kabuto fail against such a nuisance? You look surprised, Orochimaru. Naruto is great at surprising others. Jiraiya smirked and turned to his student. Naruto, Gamaken, cover us. Whatever, perv. We will do our best, but I am still ungraceful. Shizune, stay with the brat in case he gets hurt. Tsunade yelled. Hey, that is the thanks I get for coming here and saving you, old lady? Naruto waved his fist in outrage, but Shizune just placed her hand on his shoulder, calming the boy down. This fox brat is becoming a real thorn in my side. Very well, I might use him and his friend to my advantage. Manda charged. He avoided a dagger slash from Gamabunta and moved towards Gamaken, who covered himself with his shield as Manda lashed out with a strike from his tail. The toad grunted from the strain of having to withstand such a brutal attack, but stood firm, digging his legs into the ground. Acidic slime! Katsuyu once again tried hitting Manda with her devastating attack, but the snake wrapped itself around her and forced her to spit out acid at Gamaken, who barely managed to place his shield in the way, before dropping it with a pained scream. The acid ate through the shield like it was made of paper. Orochimaru! Gamabunta roared, trying to grab the snake's sannin off Manda's neck, but Orochimaru's long tongue shot out, wrapping around Gamaken's weapon, and the traitorous sannin flung himself over to Gamaken's head. Katsuyu, split! Tsunade ordered and jumped off as her summon broke into hundreds of identical, but smaller copies of herself, escaping Manda. Bastard! Tsunade began dropping down onto Gamaken's head as Orochimaru engaged Naruto and Shizune. Shadow CL. Orochimaru never allowed Naruto to finish, delivering a kick that threw the boy down to the ground. Naruto! Shizune watched the boy fall in fear, but was grabbed and used as a human shield when Tsunade landed. Quite a predicament, Tsunade. Orochimaru grinned and rammed a kunai into Shizune's chest, much to Tsunade's horror. He twisted it and immediately pulled out. Tsunade felt something splash against her face, something warm. She wiped her face with her hand and saw something red. Tsunade was covered in the blood of her own assistant, who now looked deathly pale. Well, this worked out quite well. Orochimaru grinned. While Jiraiya was busy helping Gamabunta and Katsuya subdue Manda, Orochimaru was left to do whatever he wanted with Tsunade, who right now was visibly trembling. Now, I suppose I don't need this anymore. Orochimaru threw Shizune to the side, off Gamaken's head. You should have accepted my offer, Tsunade. But I guess you are too eager to meet up with your little brother and lover in the afterlife. So be it. Orochimaru raised the kunai. To Tsunade it looked as if he was moving in slow motion, the razor-sharp blade coming closer and closer to her throat, but her body wouldn't move. She was helpless. Ag! Orochimaru's face suddenly connected with a kick that threw the snake's Sannin back. Help her, Grandma, you can do that at least. Naruto lowered Shizune down next to Tsunade. It was a good thing Naruto managed to catch her before she hit the ground like he did. What an interesting, unpredictable child you are, Naruto-kun. I seems that you just refuse to die. That's right, until I become Hokage, I won't die, so just go back and crawl into whatever hole you came from. Big words from a genin. Orochimaru smirked and charged at Naruto. Gamaken, release the summoning! Naruto yelled, and the giant toad they were atop of disappeared in a puff of smoke. Little bastard! Orochimaru cursed when he lost his footing and began falling down. Tsunade, who regained some control of her body, grabbed her apprentice and landed a small distance away to start healing her. But the wound bled. Tsunade's hands trembled as she tried to activate a healing technique to stop the bleeding. In front of her, Naruto was creating clones trying to distract Orochimaru, but was only getting pummeled into the ground by a much more powerful shinobi. Get a hold of yourself, Tsunade, just breath and work. You like to speak of curses and burdens, old lady, you just know nothing of dealing with them. All you know is how to run, like a coward that you are. For some reason Naruto's words rang in her head, as she desperately tried to heal her wounded apprentice. Naruto was truly a fool, but that fool was right now facing Orochimaru and not trying to escape. For some reason he was willing to protect her and Shizune even if he had just met them. Whatever curse you have, I'll take it head on and will turn it into a blessing. He never ran away, never gave up. He had a strength of spirit she never did. Things that broke her would never break him, for he was used to suffering. His spirit was like a blade forged in the fire of his own curse. I care for them more than I care for myself. If I can't protect them, then I'll try to die instead of them. You know, those that died and whose names are engraved on the memorial stone, I think they knew that their deaths meant that someone else could live on. To die like that, it makes it worth it. To die like that, so that others could live on. Nawaki, Dan, they died without regrets. They understood what it meant to be Hokage, and that boy, despite his curse, despite being a Jinchuriki, understood it. Right now he was far more worthy to become Hokage than she was. When you say that becoming a Hokage is a dream of a fool, you insult all those whose names are engraved on the memorial stone, and who made a sacrifice that you consider stupid. I wonder, is there anyone left, willing to die for you? Shizune was dying in front of her, Ardor coming to help her. Naruto was fighting and would without a doubt lose, trying to save her. And here she was, trembling and unable to do anything. Naruto was right, she had no right to call herself a Sannin. She was not worthy of becoming the 5th Hokage. Not like this. Ag. Naruto spat out blood. Ardor Orochimaru rammed him into the ground. He could kill the boy quickly, but Tsunade was not going anywhere and Jiraiya was busy if the sound of battle in the distance was of any indication. Well, how does it feel? Do you think you will be able to achieve your foolish dream now? But how can you, if you will die in a moment? Because he won't die. Orochimaru saw a hand land on his shoulder. It was covered in blood, but to his shock, it wasn't trembling. Instead it held his shoulder firmly, until he felt a fist being rammed into his lower back. The strike sent him flying away like a bullet and crashing onto the ground ungracefully. Not while I am around. Huh? Granny Tsunade? Naruto sat despite the pain in his chest. Orochimaru most likely broke several of his ribs. You did well, Genin. You protected fellow leaf ninjas, but now let me protect you. As the 5th Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. Come, Orochimaru. Tsunade turned to her former teammate, who got up with a pained moan. He couldn't understand what got into Tsunade. One moment she was a broken wreck, the next she stood firm like his equal. Fine, I suppose I played around for long enough. Time for me to leave. Who said I am going to let you? Tsunade growled. You'd better stand down, Lady Tsunade. It would be a shame to ruin all the fine work you did here. I must admit I am impressed. To stop such severe bleeding, my compliments. Tsunade looked back and saw Kabuto crouching down over an unconscious Shizune. The spy had a kunai placed against her throat, threatening to kill the young woman. How ironic, Tsunade! Will you let your dear assistant die just to kill me, or will you let your feelings once more get the best of you and let me escape only to see her live on? Shut up and get out of here, bastard! Your life is not worth hers. Touching. It was nice meeting you once again, Tsunade. Too bad you never understood what it means to be a shinobi. You still cling to those ideals that Sarutobi-sensei preached about. I expected you to be smarter. I said leave, Orochimaru. Swanda narrowed her eyes and Orochimaru felt Swanda build up chakra. Tisk, Kabuto, we are pulling back, Orochimaru said and sank into the ground. You proved much more of a challenge than I could have anticipated, Naruto. Next time we meet I will not make a mistake of underestimating you. Kabuto smirked and disappeared in a puff of smoke. In the distance Manda also disappeared, being already severely weakened from the fight. Gamabunta and Katsuyu didn't look much better and were glad that the fight was over, though the Toad boss yelled at Jiraiya for being too reckless, before disappearing. Still can't believe the old lady is going to be the new Hokage, Naruto ranted as they walked back to Konoha. Shizune recovered nicely, not counting a thin red scar that now decorated her chest. She found Naruto incredibly amusing, but now she also respected the blonde genin, who showed more than just skill. He showed strength of spirit and the will of fire, matched by only few. Listen, brat, I agreed to this job, so that means I am your boss. You might want to act accordingly. First of all, you are not the 5th Hokage yet. The old man still has to make it official, sign those papers he always signs and do other stuff. Another thing is that if you expect me to crawl around on my knees kissing your toes just because you are the head of the village, you have another thing coming, old lady. You are still not exactly Hokage material in my book. You have a nasty temper, you still hide under that illusion, and you are still a pathetic gambler. He does have a point, sort of. Jiraiya rubbed his chin, making Swanda send a glare his way that promised slow and painful demise. You just don't know when to shut up, brat. But you were right about some things, I guess. Here, you after all won it. Eh? The necklace? Forgot all about it. What is the big deal about this little green rock anyway? Looks kind of plain to me. Just take it. Do you have to ask so many questions? Tsunade looked irritated. Well, if you ask so nicely. Naruto's voice dripped with sarcasm, but he took the necklace looking over it curiously. Somehow it felt right to have this thing, so with a smile Naruto tied it around his neck and grinned. One thing's for sure, it looks better on me. Keep thinking like that, brat. Tsunade sighed. But just for your comments, I hope you and your team loves D-rank missions. I won't forget mentioning that it is your fault they will be stuck doing chores. Who are his teammates, by the way? Tsunade turned to Jiraiya, while Naruto felt a shiver run down his spine. Both Sasuke and Sakura would be out for his blood. Achiho and some pink-haired girl, can't remember her name. Her name is Sakura and the team is Sasuke. Naruto shook his head. Personally, I don't care much, I am not their sensei. Oh, and you need to work to master the Rasengan. The way you do it just won't cut it. Worked fine against Kabuto. That is just because you surprised him. I won't say that it is a bad thing, but you need to learn to create a full-power Rasengan quickly in order to incorporate it into your fighting style. Generally, enemies won't stand around waiting until you power it up. Alright, I get that, pervy sage, I need to do it more quickly. Doesn't change the fact that I can do it though. Shizune turned out to be more helpful than you ever were. Yes. I expect you to work your butt off once we get back. If I teach you a jutsu I want you to use it perfectly and not stop halfway there. You know me, pervy sage, I am not the one to give up. You can say that again. Tsunade sighed. One thing certain, with Naruto around things would never be boring or quiet. Chapter 33. You're finally back! Naruto punched air as their group approached the gates of the Hidden Leaf village. The brand new gates were freshly painted and had the symbol of the Hidden Leaf engraved on them. If anything, they looked even more impressive than those that were destroyed during the invasion. Still, nobody bothered reinforcing them, because for a ninja a gate was hardly an obstacle. Hey, aren't you happy to be back? Jiraiya smirked. Why shouldn't I be? First of all, we completed the mission, I am going to get paid, will buy ramen at Ichiraku's, see my teammates, and show them my new jutsu. I just can't wait to see Sasuke's face when I show it to him. Don't you want to first master it completely? Kind of stupid boasting about a jutsu without mastering it yet. Fine, whatever, I'll think about it. You'd better. Jiraiya nodded. Names, purpose for arrival. The whole group stopped when they heard a neutral official tone of someone standing by the gates. Oh, it's you. Naruto frowned. Yes, Suzumaki, me. I believe you returned from a mission, Toro said, walking over to the booth and opening the journal. After all, everyone who left or arrived at the village had to be noted. Come on, you know his name, so just write him down. Tenten rolled her eyes, but waved to Naruto in a friendly manner. Toro didn't say anything, but did as she suggested. He also made a note about Jiraiya and then turned to Tsunade and her assistant. Name? Senju Tsunade, the female Sannin said proudly. She clearly expected some kind of a reaction. What? No way, really? Tsunade-sama, as in the Tsunade-sama. Tenten jumped up with stars in her eyes, having just met her idol. Yes, that is me. Tsunade was a bit surprised by the girl reacting that much, but was also pleased at that. I am so honored to meet you. You inspired me to become a ninja. I mean, you have got to be the greatest kunoichi ever. She is just an old granny who, ouch. Naruto was rammed into the ground by Tsunade's fist. What did I say about you calling me old? Like I care what you said, Grandma. Naruto pulled himself up and dusted himself. Naruto, you don't talk to Lady Tsunade in such a manner. Don't you know who she is? I know very well who she is. I think I know far more than you for that matter. Naruto looked at Tenten, who blinked in confusion. Purpose of arrival? Everyone turned to Toro, who didn't seem interested in the little exchange that took place. I am here to meet my old sensei, Tsunade said with a sigh, looking over the Chunin in front of her. He seemed strange for some reason, and it wasn't the bow on his back. You are also here to help bushy eyebrows to get better, Naruto said, looked at Tsunade, who rubbed her temples before nodding to that. Naruto really got on her nerves with that one. Official meeting and medical services then. Toro wrote it down and looked at Shizune, who politely introduced herself. She is my assistant, that should be enough, Tsunade stated. You may proceed. Toro closed the journal and watched as the group walked off in the direction of the Hokage's tower. That was Lady Tsunade in the flesh. Toro, that was Lady Tsunade. I heard it the first time. Aren't you excited? She is one of the most famous ninjas in Konoha, one of the legendary Sannin. So is Orochimaru. Tenten's face lost all the excitement that was written all over it a moment ago. If anyone, Toro wasn't the one to be impressed by the title, considering his past with Orochimaru. Sorry, it is just that I sort of idolize her, I guess. Try not to be so vocal about it. Oh, and why shouldn't I express myself? Because you behave much like those girls that fawn over the Uchiha for no logical reason. I recall you once called them a disgrace to the image of a real kunoichi. Was I really like that? More or less. Well darn, I don't want Lady Tsunade to think I am some unprofessional idiot. I doubt she will care much. Toro shrugged and went silent once more. Tenten sighed and looked at him. How on earth could he just stand like that patiently was still a mystery for her. These guard duty assignments were a torture. First she had to endure D-rank missions as a genin, now she had guard duty as a chunin, and there would be patrol missions when she would make jounin. Even the Hokage had his own torture, paperwork. Either way, no matter what rank you were, you always had some boring duty that you hated with all your heart. Hey old man, mission accomplished. Naruto grinned, walking into Hiruzen's office. The old Hokage looked up from his desk and released a puff of smoke before putting down his pipe. He saw that after Naruto, Jiraiya walked in, followed by Tsunade and her assistant Shizune. Good to see you back in the village, Tsunade. Had a pleasant trip? Does that snake freak count as part of the trip? Naruto asked, and Hiruzen now looked much more concerned. Orochimaru? Yeah, we ran into him and that traitor Kabuto. Had to get our hands dirty, Jiraiya explained. Troubling. Naruto, me and my former students have very much to discuss, so you are dismissed. My secretary will hand out your payment, and of course good work completing the mission. Awesome. Hey, since Granny will be busy here with you, can I take Shizune-san to see bushy eyebrows? I mean, she is also a medic, should be able to. I don't know, look over him, prepare for when the old lady will come by. For once you said something that makes sense. Tsunade nodded. Shizune, go with him, this conversation will be private. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Shizune followed Naruto outside after he picked up his payment. Higher-ranking missions sure were worth it if the payment was of any indication. So, this patient, is he a friend of yours? Shizune just couldn't name anyone using Naruto's nicknames. Oh yeah, he a ninja who only uses taijutsu. He trains very hard and is very strong. Well, was until Gaara injured him. So I want the old lady to heal him, because he is an awesome ninja. I see, sounds like he is a good person. I'll be happy to help out in any way I can. Shizune smiled and the duo soon reached the hospital. It wasn't hard finding Lee, because every nurse knew him as the boy tried training nearly every free minute. Naruto? What brings your youthful soul here today? Not some horrible injury, I hope. Naruto nearly jumped out of his pants when he heard the loud voice behind him. Mado guy could really give a heart attack. Nah, I am fine, just came back from an awesome mission. You here to visit Lee? Correct, my great student is doing his best to overcome his current state, and I as his teacher must support him in his effort to get better. Loud. Shizune muttered, rubbing her ear. Well, I have good news. I came across some awesome medical ninja who came back to the village with us. This is her assistant here, and I bet they will get Lee back running around in no time at all. Naruto! That is the best news you could have brought me. I can only bless the universe for giving Lee a friend like that. Your actions are most youthful. Guy turned to Shizune, who wanted to jump back for some reason. Please come with me to see my student. Guy grabbed both Naruto and Shizune by their hands and dashed towards Lee's room at speeds that made his companions scream in protest and fear. Lee smiled brightly. Naruto found you a doctor. Huh? Lee looked up. Right now he was sitting on his bed, crouches not far, by the wall, as he had no way of moving around without them. What gives, Guy-sensei? Naruto looked up from the ground as the Jounin had all but dragged him over the floor. Shizune fared better, but also looked a complete mess. Sorry, I just had to get you to Lee as soon as possible. Well, I prefer to use my own 2 feet, thank you very much. Damn, now I know how a rag feels when it is used to mop up the floor. Is he your friend, Naruto? Shizune pointed at Lee, while trying to stand straight. Yes, that is Lee. He is my most prized student, Guy said proudly. I can see that. Shizune looked between Guy and Lee. The student clearly took after the master in more ways than one. I'll take a look then. I should be able to give my master the full story when she gets here. Turn around and let me have a look. Shizune began inspecting Lee, who without any hesitation allowed her to work. He felt the sensation of a medical jutsu scanning him, but it felt far more refined than those that were used on him earlier by local medics. Naruto, who is that doctor you talked about, by the way? Guy turned to the blonde genin, and Lee also listened carefully. She and Pervy Sage used to be teammates. Her name is Tsunade, and she is... Lady Tsunade? You brought Lady Tswanda herself to help Lee? Naruto, your youthfulness can be matched by so very few. Stop yelling, I need to concentrate, this is a hospital. I know you are worried, but keep quiet while I work. Shizune finally lost her temper, and her angry face alone made Guy and Naruto back up against the wall. Sorry. Guy sweated, while Naruto hoped that Shizune didn't have any of those poisonous needles with her. I'll just leave you to do the healing stuff. Bye, Lee. Naruto took his moment to jump out of the window, escaping Shizune's ire. Tsunade's assistant was a very calm, collected individual who preferred to solve conflicts by finding a compromise. But there was a limit to her patience as well, and when Shizune was angry she was scary, incredibly scary. Well, Lee should be fine, better go find my team. Naruto grinned. Unfortunately, he had no idea where they were right now, so he decided to just check the usual places they met, so Naruto marched off humming a happy tune. Quite a story. Hiruzen lighted his pipe once more, earning an irritated look from Tsunade. Your fight with Orochimaru was unexpected. I didn't think he would have any reason to seek you out, Tsunade, but I've been wrong before. What is more important is the reason he came out into the open again. Appears that he is getting desperate. Uchiha Sasuke is currently nearly impossible to reach, and your refusal to heal his other potential body puts Orochimaru into a very tricky situation. I do believe that he is running out of time before he will have to go through another soul transfer ritual. It means he will act soon, Jiraiya pointed out. He might. Hiruzen nodded. But he will not act so soon after your encounter. He will take time until we are not as alert of his actions. Still, Jiraiya, try to use your network to monitor all activity around. I don't want any surprises. No problem, but I will need to leave for a while to meet some people personally. Do what you must. Now Tsunade, about your role. Me becoming Hokage, right? Are you sure that I am your only option? My best option. Hiruzen specified and looked straight in the eyes of his former student. The village needs someone like you, someone they can turn to for inspiration and example. Example, hardly, sensei. Tsunade, very few know personal details about your past. For most, you are a symbol of a perfect shinobi, and your skills as a medical ninja only add to your image of protector. So my image is the key, not who I actually am. We are ninjas, deception is our way, and why would you of all people deny wearing a mask, you after all wearing one right now? You always knew how to talk, Sarutobi-sensei. A skill that can be trained like any other. I of course cannot name you the 5th Hokage right away. The village has to get used to the idea of your return, and you will require some preparing for the title and the responsibility. Don't think that I will just dump everything on you and retire. You'd better not. Swanda narrowed her eyes, but that only made Hiruzen laugh. Perhaps he was old, but not old enough for his students to intimidate him. Fine, first of all you need to familiarize with the ninjas we currently have available, and considering the situation with Uchiha Sasuke, pay special attention to the younger generation in his age group. With Orochimaru lurking around, they all might end up in the crossfire, and after your story Naruto can also be target, simply because pissed Orochimaru off. Oh yeah, he was awesome doing that. Jiraiya laughed, though others didn't feel as cheerful. Damn it, how can it be so hard to find my own team? Naruto's good mood disappeared rather quickly when his search for his teammates didn't go as smoothly as he had hoped. He looked everywhere, but found nobody. He eventually ended up at the same training ground where Kakashi gave them their bell test, but the only familiar thing he found were the training posts. Naruto chuckled remembering how Kakashi tied him up to the middle one, though back then it hardly felt as a laughing matter. Well, since I can't find my team and since I am here I might as well train. Naruto grinned. That training post had this coming for a long time. Naruto raised his hand, feeling that familiar sensation of chakra gathering. A blue orb of spinning chakra appeared, quickly gaining power. Still, the process was far from a nearly instant Rasengan Jiraiya could pull off. Naruto required time to power it up, while adding chakra. Trying to use the massive amount from the beginning made the Rasengan lose shape, but Naruto, despite all the noise, saw someone yelp in fear, and then he saw a shadow dive out of the way of the damaged training post that went through the nearby bushes and then smashed against a tall tree, nearly tearing it down. Hey, who are you and what are? Hinata? Naruto ran over to the figure that narrowly avoided getting hit by the post. Hinata was just getting up, being a bit shaken up after her ordeal. And Naruto-kun? The girl turned red at being found out. Her mind was racing, she was trying to think of something to say or something to do, but got into some kind of stupor. Sorry about that, I didn't know anyone was around. What are you doing here? Naruto asked. I was training by the river and heard a noise. I decided to investigate and then. Hinata looked back at the remains of the training post, wondering what power was unleashed upon it to cause such damage. The training posts were made of very hard wood and could withstand quite a bit of punishment. Oh, the river, that brings back memories. Naruto shivered slightly, remembering being launched in that river by Kakashi's prank of a jutsu. It was incredibly humiliating. I am sorry if I ruined your training. Hinata looked away. Ruined? No, not at all. I just didn't think that someone was nearby. Toro once said I need to be more aware of things around me, I guess this counts. Still need to perfect the jutsu, I still can't use it properly. You mean that was incomplete? Hinata was so surprised that she actually forgot to stutter. She once more nervously glanced at the remains of a training post and didn't want to think what that jutsu could do to a person. It does what it has to do, but I take too much time to power it up properly. Power a jutsu up? Hinata looked a bit confused by that. Well, yeah. Look here. Naruto began forming another Rasengan. I make the shape and spin the chakra in every direction. Then I just keep adding chakra until it reaches a point when it is ready, and then I just slam it into my enemy. Naruto released the jutsu, slowly allowing the chakra to disappear instead of blowing up in his face when he failed to contain it. I just have to do all that almost instantly. That seems very complicated. Hinata was almost sorry to see the sphere of chakra disappear. Perhaps it was deadly and powerful, but it had some sort of an appeal for her. You bet, it took forever to even get it this far. Spinning chakra alone takes so much concentration. Spinning chakra, I see. Hinata nodded, but it was clear she was in deep thought about something. She actually compared the Rasengan with the Kaiten. Both were based on the ability to spin chakra, but Kaiten used that chakra motion to move chakra only in one direction, while Rasengan moved chakra in every way imaginable. If there was a way to combine the two ideas into one jutsu, the results could be beyond impressive. Hey Hinata, you spaced out. Oh, sorry Naruto-kun. I didn't realize. It is alright. What were you thinking about? About training. I am trying to improve my taijutsu. Oh right, your family style. Hurts a lot when you guys actually hit. Why yes, it is true. I had an idea about your jutsu. An idea? What kind of? Naruto's stomach chose exactly that moment to growl, demanding to be filled with food. On the other hand, let's talk about it over a nice bowl of Ichiraku's ramen. I got paid for a mission today. And Naruto-kun, you shouldn't and… Actually, Hinata was both thrilled and scared at the idea of eating with Naruto, and her face began to redden up again. Consider this my way of saying sorry for nearly hitting you by a training post. Naruto waved her protests of, and the girl had no choice but to agree. Besides, she was also a bit hungry, and a nice warm meal sounded quite appealing right now. Chapter 34. Among the various ninja clans and minor ninja families of Konoha, the Hyuga clan held the position of the most powerful one. They were not only the largest clan, but they also had a well-known and powerful bloodline and their own unique fighting style that was designed to take advantage of the abilities provided by the Byakugan. The aim to preserve that bloodline made the members of the Hyuga clan strict when it came to upholding tradition. It was hard to introduce that clan to innovations in ninja arts and in purely social questions. That clan was considered nobility, and maintained that image in the eyes of the village population. Some could be considered lucky to be born into such a clan, especially in the main family, but Hinata never thought that way. She didn't like strict traditions of the Hyuga clan. But since her father paid little attention to her development, she had more freedom in her choices and preferred to use it fully to improve in a way she thought right. Her character, her soft and gentle nature made her stand out among the members of the Hyuga clan. Traditional methods didn't work that well for her, but as she slowly steered away from she found out that she could achieve much by trusting herself. Neji was right, she was different and had to become strong in a different way. Even the ultimate defense, the Kaiten technique, didn't suit her well. It relied more on power than any kind of control, but she needed a different method, something else, something that would take advantage of her strong traits. Your meal, enjoy. The old ramen chef placed 2 bowls in front of his customers and went back to work, knowing that Naruto would never be satisfied by just 1 bowl of his favorite dish. Oh yeah, this looks good. Naruto grinned as he took a pair of chopsticks. Hinata followed his example. Ramen was never served in the Hyuga clan. It was considered a dish for commoners, but the delicious smell easily convinced Hinata to forget about that. Besides, when it came to ramen, Naruto was an expert, and if he said this place was the best, who was she to argue? That hit the spot. Keep them coming, old man. Naruto lowered the bowl after gulping down the broth. Hinata blinked, looking at her own bowl. She ate in a slow pace, enjoying the flavor of the soup and the texture of the noodles, but Naruto practically inhaled his meal. Wait a couple of minutes, you go through ramen faster than I can cook it. Sure, no problem. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and turned to Hinata. Sorry, I just missed eating here. You are alright, this ramen is truly exceptional. You bet it is. So, what about that technique you spoke of? That. Maybe. I could use that C-chakra motion you used to create a jutsu for myself? You mean chakra rotation? Sure, I can show you that. Naruto seemed to be in deep thought. I can try and help you finish your jutsu. You can? How? That would be awesome. Well, I have Hyuga Kaon training. We know how to gather and use C-chakra with our hands. My Byakugan C could also help. Hinata managed to say, feeling how her cheeks began to turn red again, so she turned back to ramen. Yeah, you guys are very good at that stuff. Alright, this will be like a trade, you help me, I help you. Great idea, Hinata! Thank you. The girl suddenly became very interested in the noodles in the bowl in front of her. Then we should just decide on a time to meet and train. Naruto smiled. Enjoy. Naruto saw another bowl appear in front of him, and cheered. Naruto! I thought we'd find you here stuffing your face. Huh! Naruto turned around after he swallowed some broth. Sakura, Sasuke, I've been looking for you all day, and where's Kakashi-sensei? We had a D-rank mission on the outskirts of the village. Kakashi said something about his private business and disappeared like he always does. Sasuke explained with an annoyed look. They were hired to chop wood for a man who looked perfectly capable of doing that himself. Still, Sasuke managed to practice a bit, chopping the wood with his katana instead of an axe. Oh, that's why I couldn't find you. Naruto nodded. At least Hinata here kept me company. I decided to treat her to some ramen. Good evening, Uchiha-san, Harino-san, Hinata said politely. You? Since when are you mannered enough to treat a girl to a meal? Sakura asked in confusion. Well, since I nearly slammed a training post into her. Figures. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Might as well eat too, I am in no mood to go anywhere else. Sasuke took a seat next to Naruto and ordered a bowl of pork ramen. Ramen? Sakura wasn't a fan of this particular dish. Nobody is forcing you to stay, Sakura, Sasuke said, but the girl instead took a seat next to him, much to his annoyance. With his darn luck, she would boast about it later as if they were on a date. So, how was your mission with the Sannin? Sasuke asked, showing an unusual amount of interest. It was tough, we did great, brought the old lady doctor back, I learned a new awesome jutsu, well I still need to perfect it, but Hinata here agreed to help. You aren't just making a girl help you? Sakura narrowed her eyes. And no, Naruto-kun will also be helping me with my technique. Listen, Naruto, can you later show me the shadow clone jutsu? Sasuke spoke in a voice that betrayed him being uncomfortable with that question. Naruto nearly choked on his ramen, and it took him a few moments to stop coughing. Seriously? Kakashi said you can, but that I have to convince you. Oh, this better be good, team. Convince me to share my techniques. Naruto, be polite, Sasuke-kun is showing team spirit. Sakura defended her crush, who had an urge to slam his head against the counter. He really didn't need her comments right now. At least she was improving as a ninja with Kakashi's help. Sorry to interfere, but maybe you have a tea technique Naruto-kun could use? Hinata offered. Hey, that's right, Hinata, he does. Just don't ask about Chidori, Dobe, Kakashi put heavy restriction on that one, including not teaching it to anyone. Pfft, not that thing. I mean your fireball technique. Why would you want that one? Sasuke asked. Remember back when we fought Gaara? You used it to ignite the oil the Toad boss made. I could use that, because I can't rely on you being around. Sasuke rubbed his chin. Deal. We start tomorrow, before team practice. Great. Oh, Hinata, when will you be free for training? Maybe the same time as tea today? Sure thing. How cool is that? My day tomorrow is all planned out already. Naruto grinned. Well, will my student be alright? Can you fix him, Tsunade-sama? Guy was moving around Lee and Tsunade, driving the female Sannin crazy. Shizune, who already had the pleasure of coping with Mato Guy, just stood in the corner, trying not to laugh at her master's misfortune. First of all, shut up. Tsunade spoke calmly, but her voice held notes that made Guy pale. She then turned to Lee. Alright kid, you are a ninja, so I won't make into a soap opera and will just tell you how it is. You are messed up, very messed up. There are bits of bone in your spinal cord, and that is a tricky type of injury. I personally am not surprised that the medics here didn't even try to fix it. Such cases are beyond any normal medical ninja. But you are not some everyday medical ninja, Lady Tsunade. Lee looked at her with hope. Damn right. Tsunade nodded. But even I have my limits. Some injuries are just too severe to try and heal. Luckily you are not such a case. You mean you can fix it? Lee asked. I can try and fix it, but there is a problem. You see, you will require a surgery, a delicate one at that. I can perform the procedure, but I can't offer you more than 60% success chance. And if it fails? 3 possibilities. First is that everything stays the same, no improvement. Second is that you get paralyzed from waist down. Finally, there is a small chance of you not pulling through, but you seem like a tough genin, so I am not worried about that. Lee. Guy clearly hoped for something that didn't involve such a choice for his student. It is alright if you want to think over this, after all. It is alright, Lady Tsunade. Lee shook his head. I don't really need the time to think about it. I had done plenty of thinking lately and already decided that being a ninja is the only way to achieve my dream. Besides, as a ninja I will be facing far worse odds in the future. I agreed to the operation. Lee, that decision is most youthful. I am proud of you. Guy said, but not in his usual cheery way. Well, then there is nothing else left to say. I will go prepare for your surgery, and you should too. The surgery will start tomorrow in the morning. See you then, kid. Thank you, Lady Tsunade. I am glad Naruto brought you to the village, and not just because you offered me a chance of recovery. You know what surprises me most about Naruto? Tsunade seemed to address not only Lee, but everyone in the room. Despite him being a knucklehead, he is a good judge of character. The way he talked about you made me think that you are worth doing my best. He was right again. Tsunade smiled and walked out of the room, followed by Shizune. Getting up early in the morning was a tough task for Naruto. He liked to sleep in, but one could hardly do that with an alarm clock ringing next to your head. So the blonde genin had no other choice but to get up, get dressed, gulp down some simple breakfast and race off towards the usual meeting spot of his team. He looked at the sky that had just begun to get bright as the sun was getting up. Hey team. Naruto greeted his teammate who groaned over that nickname if it could be called that way. TSK, at least you are not late, more than what I can say about Kakashi. Don't forget, I know how annoying it is to wait for him, and I am not going to force others to wait for me if I can help it. Good. Sasuke nodded. We should begin. Sakura will be here in 2 hours for our usual team meeting, and knowing Kakashi, he will get here even later. Yes, sure, but before we start I have something to tell you. I didn't want to speak about it yesterday with Sakurin and Hinata around. Naruto suddenly lost his usual goofy smile and looked dead serious. That was reason enough for Sasuke to listen carefully. I ran into you asshole of a brother during the mission. Even though Sasuke didn't move, his whole body visibly tensed up, and for a moment, his Sharingan came to life. He took a deep breath, calming down, and looked at Naruto. Tell me everything. Well, he was traveling with another guy, one of the swordsmen of the mist, like Zabuza, and he had a huge sword, believe me. The two bastards chased me around the local town. I barely managed to hold out until Pervy Sage came. One thing for sure, they were not willing to get into a fight with him. Why did they chase you, a simple genin? Sasuke asked. The motives of his brother were no less important than his skills. Take a wild guess, team. I thought you were supposed to be smart. Naruto pointed at his stomach, and Sasuke's eyes widened in realization. Anything else? Well, they were wearing identical cloaks, black with red clouds, like some sort of uniform. Pervy Sage says he will investigate that, but he asked me not to tell anyone. Still, that was your brother. I figured you have a right to know. Thanks. Sasuke nodded. His mind was trying to sort through information, and he already made some conclusions. First of all, if Itachi was after Naruto, then it meant that being around the dobe gave him the best chances of running into his older brother. It was far better to know where one person would eventually be, than trying to trail him in any way. It also proved that Itachi had backup, powerful backup, and if Itachi indeed was now part of some sort of organized group, then it could mean that there were more strong foes. All that clearly meant that Sasuke would not be able to handle the task of taking down his brother alone. So, will we be training or what? Naruto asked after he was tired of Sasuke just standing there thinking. He figured Sasuke would need some time to accept the information, but just standing was boring. Yes, we must get stronger. Sasuke agreed. What can you tell me about your shadow clone technique? I suppose you already know the seal, no need for Sharingan to copy this, eh? Naruto demonstrated the cross-shaped seal Sasuke knew about already, but somehow Kakashi advised Sasuke against trying the jutsu out without hearing out Naruto. Yes, that much I know, but there must be more. You bet, it isn't a forbidden jutsu just because it sounds badass. Listen, first of all you need to flare chakra from your whole body, because you want to make a copy of yourself. But I bet you will have little problem with that. Even I with my low chakra control could do that even before I became genin. I warn you, it takes a huge amount of chakra. I see. Yeah, I have more chakra than I know what to do with, for known reasons. You don't have such a luxury, but if Kakashi says you can learn the jutsu, I guess you have enough to handle several clones. TSK, you can make a small army. Pervy Sage explains that not only I have more chakra than any normal person, my chakra is also far more potent, but harder to control. I also restore chakra far quicker, so for me it is possible. Listen, let's just see you make one clone to get the feel of the jutsu. You know your limits better than I do. Sounds good. Sasuke agreed and made the seal. He felt the chakra in his whole body and concentrated in making a single copy of himself. Shadow clone jutsu. Awesome. Naruto grinned when he saw another identical Sasuke appear. Yep, solid. Sasuke poked his clone in the chest. The clone didn't seem amused, and that made Naruto laugh. Sasuke was getting a taste of his own attitude. So it was no surprise that Sasuke decided to dispel the clone instead of experimenting with him. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and looked at Naruto. One clone cost him a good portion of his chakra. Creating more than 10 would probably leave him dry. After experiencing the chakra cost of the shadow clone jutsu, Sasuke for the first time realized how much more energy and stamina his teammate had, and that even without using the chakra of the fox. Controlling such power in a refined way seemed like an impossible task, so no wonder Naruto preferred massive attacks like filling the area with clones or summoning a huge toad. Fine, you got what you wanted, now my turn. Tisk, alright. Hey, Sasuke-kun! Sakura waved, skipping over to her crush, who raised his hand in a silent greeting. Hi, Sakura-chan. Sakura turned her head when she heard the voice and saw Naruto standing in the middle of the river not far from the bridge they were on. Naruto, what are you doing there? Sakura asked. Avoiding causing more damage than he already did. Sasuke explained and pointed at the spot on the shore. There was an area that looked like it suffered from forest fire. The ground and a few trees were now reduced to blackened and burned versions of themselves, if not worse. That was caused by the smallest fireball he can make without overloading the jutsu. I didn't even know you can overload the fireball jutsu with chakra so much that it explodes in your face. Sasuke's voice held both tones of annoyance and surprise. Naruto, you just had to overdo it, didn't you? Sorry, Sakura-chan. Naruto jumped onto the bridge and grinned. Relax, he can't help it. Sasuke sighed. I see you don't waste time, that is good. The genin turned around and released a collective groan when they saw Toro approach. Kakashi-sensei on a mission again? Sakura asked with misery evident in her voice. No, but he will be busy for the rest of the day. The third Hokage plans the Jounin instructors to give full reports on the progress of the genin teams during the situation when Chunin are forced to keep you in check. Whatever, mission or training? Mission. I already took it, so we won't have to bother the Hokage. Since you three seem to improve, I decided on something less resembling a mind-numbing manual labor. Whoa, that has got to be the first nice thing we heard from you, or at least the closest to that. Naruto pointed out. Toro didn't dignify Naruto's comment with a response. An academy instructor. Toro glanced at the scroll. Yumino Irika requested a genin team for a lecture concerning the duties and obligations of lower-rank ninjas. Irika-sensei? Awesome. Naruto grinned. Academy, Sakura frowned. We are to babysit academy brats? Sasuke said in an irritated tone. Uchiha, I hope you do realize that from my point of view, supervising your team is not that much different. Whatever, let's just get this over with. Chapter 35. The Ninja Academy had one primary aim, to prepare the future ninjas for their hard and very often dangerous job. It wasn't that much aimed towards developing the skills, but more to create a strong basis for future growth, giving the young ninjas adequate theoretical knowledge, basic fighting skills, and at least some level of psychological preparation. Of course, for many that wasn't enough, so there was a reason why so few actually became genin. Only members of the ninja clans had enough preparation to not worry about their future. They received additional tutoring or help from their family members and usually came with their clan-unique techniques and skills under their belt. Others had only their talents and determination to rely on, though sometimes that proved even of an asset than any kind of special tutoring. Hey, Irika-sensei! The voice was so familiar that Irika didn't even have to look to see who it was. Few ninjas were so loud, and Irika shook his head with a laugh, turning towards his now former student who approached along with his teammates. It was amazing how time changed things. When Irika declared that Naruto would be teamed up with Sakura and Sasuke, the reactions were mixed to say the least, but now all three looked like a very strong team. The members bonded despite their differences, especially true when Naruto and Sasuke were concerned, but even Sakura seemed to accept her loud and obnoxious teammate. Naruto, I sort of expected they would send your team. I kept an eye on your development, and I must say you are becoming quite a ninja. Heh, I told you I was awesome, sensei. Naruto grinned. Sure. Sasuke, Sakura, I am glad to see you two and in perfect health. Yeah, we are doing great. Sakura smiled. Sasuke shrugged, but he clearly agreed. Toro watched the exchange with a neutral expression, but didn't interfere, allowing the teacher and his students to catch up with news. He didn't like wasting time though, and cleared his throat, making Irika turn to him. We have a task to carry out, perhaps we could get onto it? Of course. Irika nodded. Toro-san, right? Correct. Well, all that is required is for the genin to answer some questions asked by the students about obligations and duties of a real ninja. I felt they would be more willing to accept information from someone closer to their age group. You heard what your task is. Get to it. I'll show the way to the classroom. Irika offered. Sensei, we've learned here. I bet any of us can find our way with our eyes closed. Sakura pointed out to her former teacher, who had to agree with that. I guess, but I still have to introduce you, so follow me. Oh, and Naruto, please don't show off. Since when do I show off, Irika-sensei? Naruto asked. What? Naruto saw that everyone, including Toro, were giving him blank looks. Uzumaki, just follow instructions, Toro said and kept walking. So today a group of genin will answer your questions about the duties of a real ninja. Hokage agreed with my request and sent Genin Squad 7 to be here today. Irika decided to first prepare the class before calling the genin into the class. The class just couldn't stay quiet after that, and the excited talks only intensified when 3 genin walked inside, followed by someone whose presence sent shivers down the spines of some students. Boss! Oh no. Sakura rubbed her face. That brat just had to be in this class. Sure thing, there he was, sitting between his two friends who called themselves the Konohamaru Corps. The last time she ran into this bunch, they nearly ended up fighting the Sand siblings, and then not so long ago the brat nearly hit her with a shuriken. Sure, it was Toro who used her as a human shield before catching the shuriken, but she blamed the brat for that. Oh, hey Konohamaru, funny running into you here. Naruto grinned. Sasuke sighed, realizing that Toro found another way to torment them, this time by making them spend time in the presence of little brats that had annoying written all over them. Sasuke didn't have Kiba's nose, but even her smelled that some of the girls already used perfume and remembered Toro's lecture about that when he felt Sakura use one. That day he explained that it was better to act like dirt, smell like dirt and look like dirt, because then your enemy might mistake you for dirt and leave you alone. That followed by him forcing Sakura to use that knowledge, and Sasuke had to admit that by the end of the day Sakura did resemble a moving pile of dirt, as she was covered in leaves and mud and who knows what. Of course that was taking it a bit too far, but Sasuke somehow suspected that the aim was not so much to teach Sakura about the proper way to conceal her presence, than about knocking out her habit of using perfume, or smelly shampoos or anything else. Naturally, Sakura never came to team meeting smelling like a batch of flowers, and somehow to her surprise that earned her more approval from Sasuke than anything else she tried before. Iruka-sensei, those are genin, seriously? I mean the one with the sword, fine, I can believe it, but a stupid girly girl and an orange idiot? Iruka groaned. These things never changed, and the last thing he wanted was for his students to antagonize his former students. There were always loudmouths like that. Do you have a death wish? Surprisingly, Iruka heard Hanabi speak out. The youngest daughter of the head of the Hyuga clan mostly kept quiet during lesson, but for reason completely different from her older sister. If Hinata was shy, then Hanabi had a healthy amount of arrogance. In most cases she considered those around beneath her. Iruka had to admit that the girl, despite her young age, had a good amount of skill to back up such arrogance, and she was quite aggressive during the spars. Still, Iruka didn't like her overwhelming pride at being a Hyuga. Huh! I said, do you have a death wish? You are insulting people that can kill you without breaking a sweat, at least two of them can. I've been at the Chunin Exam finals and I've seen what they are capable of. For once I agree with her, don't insult the boss. Konohamaru jumped up in his seat. Iruka couldn't remember the last time Konohamaru and Hanabi agreed on anything. Oh, shut up! Sasuke growled, making the whole class go silent. You are giving me a headache. Listen, Iruka-sensei asked us to come and talk to you, but so far it was a complete waste of our time. You might not realize, but we are active ninjas and we have better things to do than to sit here and listen to a bunch of brats yelling. He can be intimidating. Iruka nodded. That part about Sasuke was always present, but he never so actively directed his ire at the people in front of him. Better things to do? Like what? Moegi spoke for the first time. Like not being here. Sasuke grumbled. What Sasuke-kun means is that we have to train and perform mission assigned by the Hokage. Sakura spoke. Naruto, who wasn't that good at explaining stuff, sat down on Iruka's desk, while Sasuke leaned on the wall. What kind of missions? It depends on the rank. Some are pretty easy, but some are tougher, and sometimes missions end up more dangerous than expected. Oh yeah, like when Zabuza showed up. Mean bastard, but not all that bad actually, and Haku turned out to be nice too. Naruto grinned. You ran into other ninjas? That is awesome, boss. Did you fight? Did you beat them? Konohamaru was practically jumping in his seat. Well, yeah, sort of. Awesome. What happened to those ninjas? They are dead, Sasuke said coldly. His short reply once more made the class go quiet. What, you expected that we fought, then shook our hands and went separate ways? It doesn't work that way generally. Logical, they were enemies, they are now dead, that is what you do to enemies. Hanabi shrugged. Stay silent, Hyuga. Talking about taking a life and actually doing it are different things. Even to see someone die is not the same as actually killing. Do not speak of it so easily, you have no right to speak about it. Sasuke glared, and Hanabi somehow seemed to get smaller under his gaze. She knew better than to speak against this genin. She remembered the amount of damage he could do when back at the finals he sank his hand into the arena wall using some weird lightning jutsu. As for his blonde teammate, he looked strange for a ninja, but he pummeled her cousin into the ground with such power that she was surprised that Neji actually survived. He looked all cheery and goofy now, but back then he radiated such rage and animalistic fury that he scared her more than anything she ever saw or felt. Back then he was anger given flesh. You wanted your students to hear about the darker side of our job? Toro turned to Iruka. Better if some broke here than in the middle of a battle, Iruka replied. He cared for every one of his students, He wanted to prepare them as much as he wanted, and that not always meant that he had to be caring. Sometimes he had to be strict, at times even cruel, to teach them the lessons some were unwilling to learn. Toro turned away, thinking. To care sometimes meant to cause pain in order to prevent even worse pain. A lesser of two evils, a hardest choice to make. Guy-sensei, I am worried too, but please take a seat. You pacing back and forth isn't helping anyone. Tenten got sick of watching her sensei move around. She and Neji asked for a day off to be here today, waiting for Lee's surgery to end. So far it was going for 3 hours already. I'm sorry, you are right, I'll take a seat. Guy sat down next to Neji, but couldn't sit still even for a little bit as he kept shifting and trying to take a more comfortable position, all the while not taking his eyes off the pair of large doors that read surgery. Neji, maybe you can use your Byakugan to see how our youthful teammate is doing? Guy turned to Neji. No. I will not use my clan bloodline in such a manner. I will also not interfere in any way with the procedure, even by observing the process. Guy turned away and began biting his nails. I wonder how long they will still be there. Tenten sighed. She was also nervous, constantly checking the pockets of her Chunin vest if everything was in order, and so on. They will be there as long as it takes, no more no less. How can you act so calm? Tenten looked at Neji. I can control my emotions, that is what a ninja should be able to do. You sure seemed pissed during your fight at the finals. I failed to control my emotions back then. Uzumaki Naruto is a master of provocation. Sure he is. Tenten smirked. You think Lee will be alright? He is physically and spiritually strong, and he is treated by one of the best medical ninjas you can find, so his chances are as high as they can get. I sincerely hope he will recover. Oh my, Neji is almost sounded as if you care. If our team won't come back together, then I eventually will murder the blonde Yamanaka. I am irritated by her constant gossip and obsession over her looks. I can get along with her two teammates, but I feel sorry for them. Oh come on Neji, don't tell me that the prodigy of a Hyuga clan can't handle being around a girl. You are a girl, I can be around you just fine. But the Yamanaka is just so incredibly annoying, and her mind is always somewhere high in the clouds. The only reason why I don't speak up against her is because Shikamaru-san explained that it was more trouble than it was worth. And you actually respect his opinion? Tenten asked. The conversation made their minds trail off, for a moment making them forget about the surgery and their teammate. First of all, like you, he outranks me. Then he also proved to be able to analyze information and come up with the best possible solutions. I can respect such a skill, especially when it comes to a squad leader. Good to hear. They are coming. Guy jumped up, and just as he did, the doors opened, and they saw Lee being rolled out on a gurney. He was unconscious and pale, but that was to be expected. Relax, your student will be fine. The surgery went surprisingly smoothly. He will need time to restore his physical prowess, but at least now he will be able to do. Yes. The power of youth overcomes all. Guy laughed, and then doubled in pain as Tsunade rammed her fist into his gut. Don't yell, this is a hospital. Lady Tsunade, you are yelling too. Tenten pointed out, feeling awkward and nervous while speaking to such a famous Kwanichi. Huh. Oh yes, I guess I was a bit too loud. Ahem. Anyway, as I said, your teammate will have a full recovery, but I want to keep him under watch for today, so no visiting yet. Oh, that's a relief. Tenten smiled. She couldn't wait to see Lee after he received the good news. Knowing him, he would be training in a few days already. This calls for a celebration. My youthful students, I say we go and eat, honoring our most youthful teammate, and if I won't eat more than you two combined, I will do my best to climb the Hokage monument in under 5 minutes. Yeah, sure, you do that. Tsunade waved and walked off. Man, what a weirdo. It turned out that the academy mission had one advantage after all. They didn't have to go and report about it being completed. Instead, Irika himself would give the report to the Hokage, explaining how the presence of a genin squad benefited his students. Only after that the payment would be transferred to the genin bank accounts. What now, Toro-san? Sakura asked as the group walked towards their usual training field. Naruto now really hoped that he would be in good enough shape to train later with Hinata, but was smart enough to not voice his concern to Toro, who without a doubt would just tell him that it wasn't his problem. We will develop our skills. In order to improve, one must not also know his own strong points, but also his weaknesses. For a while we've been working to overcome the most important of them: lack of patience, self-control, precision, and in Sakura's case, endurance. The combinations of your strengths and weaknesses determines your fighting style and your role on the field of battle. Knowing your weaknesses is the first thing you must know and learn to overcome. Fine, you tell us your weaknesses then? Naruto turned to Toro. A fair request. My fighting method is based around my abilities to manipulate my bone structure. Mostly it means that I can create stabbing weapons to boost the lethality of my strikes. My bones are denser than that of a regular human, and I heal faster from flesh wounds unless my organs are damaged. This gives me an advantage in close quarters, but leaves me vulnerable when an enemy prefers to stay at distance. For that reason I mastered the use of a bow, combining it with my abilities in order to provide arrows. Still, I prefer to rely on stealth and element of surprise to finish the fight before it even starts. Now Uchiha, your turn. What are your weaknesses? What are your limitations? Sasuke frowned. He never tried thinking of his weaknesses, he never actually admitted that he had them, but telling Toro that was just asking for another dose of humiliation. Besides, he had to have weaknesses. I lack an ability to fight against multiple opponents, especially if they are faster than I am. My most powerful techniques are deadly, but chakra-consuming. Every miss barely results in damage to myself. My Sharingan is my greatest asset, but it has its limitations, especially if someone limits my field of vision. Yeah, that is why Zabuza used the hidden miss technique against Kakashi-sensei. Sakura remembered. Correct, and that is why I tried teaching you to rely on your other senses. Toro said, and Sasuke nodded, once more remembering how hard it was for him to stop relying on his eyes during those long and humiliating training sessions. Hiruno. Well, as you said, I lack stamina. I mean, if compared to Naruto or Sasuke I still do, but it got better, I guess. I also had no clear purpose in the team, so Kakashi helped me with some genjutsu training and some other tips I might need. You helped with some taijutsu techniques to quickly get away from the enemy or to quickly take him out of action. Those methods don't rely on me outlasting, but more on outmaneuvering my enemy. Good. Uzumaki. Fine, let's see. My chakra control is horrible. Well, I guess it was abysmal before, now, just horrible. Naruto grinned. My techniques are they are very loud and huge and usually draw tons of attention. I can be stealthy, but once I go all out, you can be sure there will lots of commotion. I guess I am also not that good with books and that stuff. I am more of learn by doing guy. The group finally reached the training ground. You are also impatient and quick to jump to conclusions, something that you struggle to improve with. Anyway, our limitation can only be countered to a certain degree, but we must know how to act despite that. So today we will see how well you learn to apply your new knowledge. Toro suddenly jumped back, creating distance between himself and the genin. Hey, what is going on? Naruto demanded. If you will use all that you learned so far, I will not stand a chance. If you go back to the way you used to be, I will send all three of you to the hospital. Do not be afraid to hurt me, for I will not hold back, as through pain, blood and injuries we forge our strength. Toro pulled out an arrow out of his arm and prepared his bow. Oh, I've waited for this for a long time. Naruto cracked his knuckles. Chapter 36. Remember, Naruto, don't rush into this. If we will fight one-on-one battles against him, he will wipe the floor with us. Sasuke muttered, drawing his sword and taking a basic defensive stance. Sakura slowly took a few steps back to cover her teammates. After all, she wasn't a frontline fighter. I know, I want to kick that guy's ass, but I don't fancy getting pummeled into the ground. Let's start. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Several clones appeared in front of the genin, but the next second an arrow flew through the air. It went straight through one clone and then dug deep into the chest of a clone behind it, and only then the clones finally exploded into clouds of smoke, making the genin take an involuntary step back. That bow, such power! Sasuke scowled and activated the Sharingan. Without it, the arrow was reduced to a white blur, and he wondered how on earth did that girl, Tenten, manage to knock it out of the air back in the forest of death. To hit something moving at such speeds required an amazing amount of skill. Damn! Naruto jumped to the side and went into a roll, when another arrow destroyed one more clone. That was enough reason for Naruto to send them forward. Get him! The clones charged, moving from side to side to make it harder for Toro to hit them, but despite that another clone got an arrow straight through the eye. Still, Toro couldn't make arrows without straining his chakra reserves, and Naruto could easily give him more targets than he could take out this way. So now that the ranks of the clones were somewhat thinned, Toro placed the bow on his back and slid into a taijutsu stance. The first clone that came close received a kick to the face with enough force to break two ribs before it exploded into smoke. Toro took a step back when the world around him began spinning. Release! Toro threw off Sakura's simple, but confusing illusion and flipped back, avoiding Sasuke's slash. TSK, he reacts fast. Sasuke scowled and spun around, but just as he prepared to attack Toro again, he saw how the archer blocked a punch from a clone, He then grabbed Naruto's replica and threw him straight at Sasuke, knocking the Uchiha down. Luckily the clone disappeared after the impact, or otherwise Sasuke would have been stuck under Naruto's body. Take this! 2 clones threw the original Naruto at Toro, turning the genin into a missile. GHHH! Toro grunted from the impact when he raised his hands in a cross to block Naruto's kick. The force behind it was truly impressive. Now! Naruto kicked away from Toro, flipping in mid-air, allowing 2 kunai with explosives tagged to fly under him and land right in front of Toro. The next moment there was a huge explosion that seemed to engulf both Toro and the remaining Naruto's clones. Heh, I wonder how he liked that. Naruto landed next to Sasuke and looked back at Sakura, who had thrown the 2 kunai. Suddenly he paled. Sakura, he used a substitution! Naruto yelled, but it seemed to be too late as Toro appeared behind Sakura in a puff of smoke, having replaced himself with one of his arrows. That was another advantage of using them. Being white, they were easy to spot. The drawback was that using a substitution with such a small object required more chakra and higher degree of control than exchanging with an object of similar size. Not this time! Sakura ducked under a kick that was aimed at her head. She instantly spun around and blocked a punch. Toro's strikes were too strong for her to block effectively, so she ducked under another strike and rolled to the side before Toro overwhelmed her. Raf! Toro saw how Naruto created 2 more clones before jumping at him. The clones were dispatched quickly and efficiently, but the real Naruto grabbed Sakura and jumped away. Fire style, fireball jutsu! Sasuke released a large fireball at Toro, who seemed like an easy target. Still the archer dropped down, the fire passing over him, though he did feel the uncomfortable heat as the fire moved over him. Damn it, this is no good! Naruto and Sakura moved over to Sasuke, who scowled. Despite their best efforts, Toro seemed to shrug off or easily avoid their attacks without getting even a scratch, while they already supported some bruises. I know how each of you fights, so your usual tactics will get you nowhere. I know your strengths and I know your weaknesses. Your attacks and moves are easy to predict and thus easy to counter, while you struggle to avoid my quite simple attempts to counter-attack. It seems that I have overestimated your progress. Shut up, we'll beat you yet! Naruto yelled, trying to ignore the throbbing pain in his leg after he kicked Toro. It felt as if Toro's hands were made of stone. I care not for your claims, Uzumaki. Then we will prove it. Naruto, Sakura, let's fight if our lives depended on the outcome. Let's show him who we are and what we can do. Yes, Sasuke-kun. Sakura nodded. I've got your back, team. Naruto grinned. You are in a good mood, Tsunade. I trust the surgery went well? Hiruzen looked up from his paperwork when Tsunade walked in. Shizune left at the hospital to take care of things that didn't require the attention of her master. As for Tsunade herself, she had to prepare for her title of the 5th Hokage, something she wasn't all that looking forward to. All went perfectly. The genin will recover, with time and proper therapy, of course. Now what do you want me to do, but no financial stuff? I wouldn't dream of it, Tsunade. To be completely honest, I hope that your assistant will handle the finances, just to be safe. Safe? I would never trust you with money, Tswanda, no offense. Right, of course. The medic sighed and sat down on a sofa in Hiruzen's office. She didn't really care about that. Actually, if her gambling habit saved her from some of the annoying paperwork, then it showed that something good could actually come of it. Anyway, what have you go for me? You should familiarize with our current active ninja roster. Here. Hiruzen threw Tsunade a heap of files and the future Hokage began looking through them, starting from the genin. She stopped for a bit on Naruto's file, noticing that it had quite a bit of information left out for obvious reasons. How interesting. So, Orochimaru continued with experimentation on bloodline transplantation. To think that he achieved such a high measure of success. Tsunade hated Orochimaru, but she was more than capable to admit that he was a strong ninja and that he had talents in many other fields, including genetic research, but lacking any moral limitations. You've seen Toro-san's file, I gather. I actually wanted to ask you about that, the bloodline transplantation. Why does it seem like such an achievement, Tsunade? I mean, Kakashi had the Sharingan transplanted in field conditions. Pfft, and they call you the professor? Tsunade smirked. Questions of medical questions are outside my field of expertise, Tsunade. Now please explain, I prefer to be informed. Fine. It all depends on the type of bloodline. Some are concentrated around certain organs, like the Sharingan, which is an ocular-type bloodline which manifests through the eyes. Thus transplantation of an eye will transfer most of what the body needs to use it, provided that the procedure is performed correctly. Anatomically, the eye of an Uchiha is not that different from an eye of a regular human. Still, The chakra network that the Uchihas developed around their eyes will still be missing in the one who received an eye. This means that he will lack an ability to control the new abilities the same way as the Uchiha. Kakashi, for example, lacks the ability to deactivate the Sharingan and suffers from chakra draining effect due to the lack of proper chakra network for it to be used. The only option he was left was to cover the eye or keep it closed outside combat. Very well, that sounds logical. Hiruzen nodded and Tsunade continued. Now, when we talk about a bloodline that manifests itself in the whole skeletal structure, we are talking about a completely different level. This Toro, whoever he is, went through a procedure that involved transplantation of massive amounts of bone tissue in order to modify the whole skeleton. The survival rate of such a procedure should be extremely low, and the user will have even further limitation in the use of the bloodline should he adapt. Also, such a bloodline requires a body well adapted for the use of such an ability, and Toro clearly lacks most of what is required. This is why I am impressed that Orochimaru actually managed to make it work somehow. I am not entirely sure that it was all Orochimaru's doing, Tsunade. Still, your explanation in theory doesn't contradict what I heard from Toro himself. I would like to give that guy a medical checkup in the future. A matter of bloodline transplantation is a field where very little research was done, and this ninja is a unique case as his bloodline is not a chakra type like when Orochimaru tried to recreate the Mokutan abilities of my grandfather. If he agrees, you are welcome to do it. Can't you just order him? I can, but I would prefer not to, Tsunade. I don't wish to abuse the trust of that ninja. Fine, I'll think this over. Tsunade nodded. Oh damn! Naruto flew through the air and smashed against the tree, sliding down with a pained moan. Toro was sure not kidding when he threatened to send them to the hospital. His attacks were fast and precise, requiring the genin to be on constant alert. It also clear that Toro aimed to scatter them in order to make it harder for the genin to make coordinated attacks. Fire style, mystical flame flower! Sasuke began showering Toro with a barrage of fireballs, trying to pin his opponent down, but the archer seemed to dance around them while still approaching. The fire jutsu passed harmlessly, and Toro was almost upon the young Uchiha, who once more reached for his blade. Afraid not. Toro jumped forward, grabbing Sasuke's arm and pushing the blade back into the sheath. Sasuke was left completely open and received a knee to his chest, a blow strong enough to knock all air out of the Uchiha's lungs. Let him go! Sakura threw a pair of kunai at Toro's back, but the archer suddenly spun around using Sasuke as a human shield. Suddenly the kunai stopped in mid-air and very pulled back, revealing that they had metal strings attached. The attack was a mere distraction as the new position allowed Sasuke to elbow Toro in the side and finally escape his grip. Sakura smirked from her position on a tree branch. Fire style, fireball jutsu! Toro realized that the jutsu came from the direction he never expected such an attack to appear from. Naruto had created a massive fireball that was almost upon Toro. Another substitution. Sasuke scowled when he saw the remains of a still burning log. That meant that Toro would attack their most vulnerable teammate. Sasuke quickly pulled out a folded windmill shuriken, throwing it forward just as Toro once again appeared behind Sakura. The girl spun around, but then took a step into nothingness, sliding off the branch, revealing the approaching shuriken. Of all the... Naruto cursed when Toro caught the weapons just when the blades were inches away from his face. Still, Sakura, who was falling down, grabbed the branch just as she was flying by and flung herself around it, ramming both her feet into Toro's back, pushing him off the branch. She ended up in a crouching position and looked down with a satisfied smirk. Her triumph was short-lived though, as Toro flipped in mid-air, recovering from the blow and threw the large shuriken he was still holding. It sliced right through the tree branch and Sakura began falling down with a terrified scream. Got you! Sasuke appeared, snatching his teammate out of mid-air before she fell to the ground. Toro, who actually landed on his feet, was greeted by another group of clones that distracted him long enough for Sasuke to safely lower down Sakura. Thank you, Sasuke-kun. We are even. Ag. Toro allowed Naruto to headbutt him, but since his skull was also made of far denser bone, Naruto stumbled back, seeing double. The impact broke skin on Toro's forehead, but the archer didn't seem to care. Instead, he punched Naruto in the gut, went around him and delivered a fast kick to the back of Naruto's head, smashing him into the ground. Down! Toro pinned the blonde genin down with his knee and raised his palm, a bone stake sliding out of it. Ag! Toro leaned back, covering his eyes when the area was filled with light so bright that it actually burned. Naruto, get away! Sasuke yelled and tackled Toro, who was blinded. Sakura was standing not far, eyes closed in order to maintain a much more complex genjutsu, using herself as an epicenter. This particular illusion was tricky as it required direct physical contact to be made prior to it being activated. Basically, a small portion of chakra had to charge into the opponent, sort of marking him. Sakura did that when she kicked Toro off the branch, but she never expected him to throw that shuriken at her. Naruto, using the distraction, took the moment to roll away and jump up, shaking his head to regain focus. Sasuke was kicked away and Toro got up, but he was still trapped in an illusion, so he couldn't open his eyes. His opponents clearly had no such problems. First there was a punch to the chest, then to the back, and finally a kick to the jaw that sent Toro flying and rolling back. Not bad, Naruto. Sasuke's voice came as Toro heard the footsteps approach. He suddenly leaned back, avoiding a kick, and tripped Sasuke, forcing him to fall down to one knee. I can still hear you, Uchiha. Toro spoke, and Sasuke heard him take a deep breath. Shit, not that! Sasuke yelled, but it was too late as Toro detonated one of his modified smoke bombs. Sasuke began coughing uncontrollably while rubbing his eyes that burned from pain. The blast was large enough to reach Sakura, who had to break the genjutsu and relocate, while Naruto barely escaped in time. Still, Toro wasn't in a hurry to open his eyes. He knew where Sasuke was and delivered a powerful jump kick that threw the Uchiha out of the smoke. The boy sailed through the air, bounced off the ground, and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Toro saw that as he jumped out of the smoke, finally opening his eyes and taking a deep breath to fill his lungs with so much needed oxygen. A shadow clone, you exchange techniques. Toro looked around, spotting the trio of genin some distance away. TSK, I am not that dumb to speak while you lack sight and are relying on your sense of hearing, Sasuke replied. We are not nearly done. Agreed. Toro nodded, and the genin saw how their opponent created a long spear, pulling it out of his knee. Whoa! Naruto saw how Toro landed right in front of them, swirling his spear. The attack was so fast that defending from it seemed nearly impossible. Naruto barely avoided the spearhead, but a kick sent him rolling on the ground with a busted lip. While Sakura missed a punch that threw her back against a tree, she slid down holding her eye. Tisk! Sasuke grunted from the effort of blocking the spear with his sword he managed to pull out just in time. Left, right, from above, followed by a spin kick, another thrust, a strike from the left. Sasuke slowly retreated, but kept blocking. The two opponents engaged in a bitter fight. I can see your moves! Sasuke smiled, his Sharingan spinning as he kept blocking the strikes faster and faster as that attacks intensified. Whoa! Naruto got up, looking at the duel. Incredible! Sakura also watched with wide eyes. But it was clear that Sasuke couldn't last forever. The spear had a superior reach, and unlike a regular one, it could easily block Sasuke's slashes. The dense bones suffered little damage from the blade. Perhaps given enough time, Sasuke would be able to cut through it, but not in this situation. He finally slipped, and Toro mercilessly rammed the dull end of his spear into Sasuke's gut, and then kicked the sword out his hands. A moment later, Sasuke received a strike under the chin so strong that it for a moment lifted him off the ground, somehow not knocking out any of his lower teeth. I've had it with you. Huh! Toro looked up and saw Naruto dropping down like a cannonball, holding some strange, but clearly powerful jutsu that resembled a sphere of pure chakra. Naruto? Sasuke gasped, blood streaming from his mouth. Rasengan! Jichen-nen-nen-nen! Toro scowled from the force of impact. He raised his spear just in time to block the attack, but it was so strong that the archer actually slid back, his feet leaving gashes in the ground. To his surprise, the jutsu actually drilled through the shaft of his spear until the middle section simple exploded into pieces. But apparently Naruto was at his limit, unable to keep the Rasengan balanced any longer, and the powerful jutsu exploded. Naruto went spinning through the air and landed face down a small distance away. Toro was even worse as he smashed against the ground so hard that a small cloud of dust raised. He tried getting up, but felt someone grab his hands, pinning them down over his head. Sakura looked down with determination. He could throw her off, but that required time, and Sasuke was not giving it to him. Gah! Toro grunted in pain when Sasuke landed right on him, planting his foot into his gut. You lose! The Uchiha declared while holding a fully powered Chidori in front of Toro's neck, the air filled with the sound of 1,000 chirping birds. Yes, that appears to be true. Toro nodded. Our fight is over. Yeah, we did it! Sakura jumped up with a cheer while Sasuke deactivated the Chidori and stood up with a pleased smirk. Yeah, we totally kicked his ass, believe it! Naruto came up grinning. He and Sasuke shared a look and nodded to each other, and then offered their hands to Toro, who accepted them after a moment. Without much effort, the two genin pulled their colleague back onto his feet, who dusted himself and moved his hand around, feeling sore. So now tell me, do you yourselves feel that you have improved? Was your training worth it despite everything? TSK, I guess. Sasuke sighed with a small smirk and went to pick up his sword, putting it back on his back. We did improve, no doubt there. Sakura nodded with a smile despite a nice bruise forming around her eyes. We were good, but now we are awesome, yeah. Naruto punched air. I say we go and eat something maybe. My turn to choose, Naruto. We had ramen yesterday anyway. I know a good place to eat not far from the Ichiraku's ramen stand, Sasuke said. Great idea, Sasuke-kun. Sakura smiled. Sasuke sighed, wondering if she would ever stop with those dreamy looks that looked ridiculous, especially now that there was a bruise covering her eyes. He looked back at Toro and tilted his head. You coming or what? Toro looked at them curiously, not expecting such a question. Sure, you are a part of this team too. Naruto grinned. Just not the best part. Why not lead the way? Toro nodded. The genin didn't notice, but for a moment his figure looked much more relaxed than usual. Chapter 37. The place Sasuke brought them wasn't fancy at all, but it compensated by having a very warm atmosphere that made the customer feel welcome. Perhaps that was the reason Sasuke liked to eat here. It sort of brought back that feeling when he ate at home with his family. He didn't himself realize it, but it gave him some sort of comfort, something similar to peace. In this regard, Sasuke was not that much different from Naruto, who adored the Ichiraku's ramen stand not so much because of the ramen, but because he was always greeted there with a happy smile. When it all came down to that, the food actually meant little. Oh, this is such a nice place, Sasuke-kun. Sakura smiled once they all took a seat behind one of the tables. She itched a bit closer to Sasuke, who sighed before resting his chin on his hands in a usual manner, just like he did back at the academy. What can I get you? A waitress approached. The place wasn't crowded, so they didn't wait long. Do you have ramen here? Naruto asked immediately, but the waitress shook her head with a confused look. Darn it. How about bean soup then? Sure, and the others? Sasuke and Toro both ordered some rice and tea while Sakura ordered dumplings. She was incredibly hungry after their fight and long since abandoned any ideas of being on a diet. With Toro around, being on a diet was a bad idea that could result in you dropping unconscious in the middle of the day, having spent all of your energy. Sure, she didn't eat like Naruto, who seemed to be able to eat his own weight in ramen, but when she could now preferred to eat until she felt full. The waitress also offered to bring her an ice bag for her eye. Ninjas often came to eat and due to their profession didn't really care about minor injuries, so it wasn't that uncommon to bring a ninja something for his bruise or a minor cut. Such service also attracted more clients. So Dobe, what was that jutsu you used? Sasuke asked Naruto as they waited for their meal. That was the Rasengan. Awesome, wasn't it? It will be more impressive when I actually master it completely. What do you mean? It obliterated Toro's spear, while my sword barely made scratches. Sasuke objected, but that only made Naruto grin. I need to learn to power it up faster, that is what Hinata will try to help me with. I see logic in that. Toro nodded. The Hyuga clan is known for their ability to control and use raw chakra. The technique Uzumaki demonstrated is based on the concept of chakra shape manipulation combined with complex chakra motion. Chakra shape manipulation? Sakura asked, leaning close, being interested in the topic. Sasuke also listened carefully, but didn't show that he was eager to hear more. Along with chakra nature transformation, it is one of the most advanced forms of chakra control. Unlike usual methods of gathering and controlling chakra, this one requires the wielder to actively shape it into some kind of physical form. In order for that method to produce any kind of result, the amount of used chakra must be formidable, as the density of the jutsu usually determines how effective it is. Kakashi spoke about gathering chakra in my hand for the Chidori. Sasuke nodded. But that was the easiest part. From what I gathered, your Chidori does incorporate chakra shape manipulation, but only on a very crude, basic level, allowing you to hold the jutsu in your hand. It does not add to the power of the jutsu, instead it relies on your ability to transform it into lightning element chakra. So, there are like two sides of the same coin? Sakura understood and turned to the waitress who brought her the ice bag. A moment later, Sakura felt blissful chills spread over her bruise. What if you combine the two? Sasuke asked. I don't know if it is even possible to combine them on such a high level. Chakra manipulation is a topic I only know in theory and can't tell you anything about the possible outcome of this. For now, I suggest you concentrate on objectives more within your reach. Sasuke nodded. The idea did intrigue him, but even a simple Chidori was draining him when used. Right now, he would achieve more by concentrating on other skills, namely the technique Hate spoke of, the one that incorporated the use of a shadow clone. Yes, that is right, and the way we are right now reminds me that I should speak with Kakashi-sensei about getting started on some medical ninjutsu. He thinks I can pull it off with my chakra control, Sakura said, taking the ice bag away for a moment. Some medical treatment would be nice right now. Injuries heal, but experience and skill stays with you, provided that you hone them. Toro spoke. Whatever, let's eat, the food has arrived. Naruto cheered, and indeed the waitress returned with their order. After that, Toro didn't participate much in the conversation, but for once his presence was intimidating and the genin didn't expect another painful training sessions. Just seeing him eat proved that he was just a human, who had to eat, sleep, rest, much like them. He caused them pain, but they got better because of that and had a reason to respect themselves. Toro-san, Lord Hokage would like to speak with you. An Anbu suddenly appeared in front of the table. The genin glared at the masked ninja, who for a second felt the air lose some warmth. They for once had a peaceful meal, and this guy just had to come and ruin it. Even Sakura didn't look pleased, but when Hokage called, you obeyed. I will arrive shortly. Toro got up and placed some money on the table, covering his share for the meal. The Anbu disappeared in a trademark puff of smoke, while Toro readjusted his bow and went to the door. He stopped for a second and looked at the members of Team 7, all of whom were looking at him. I will tell Kakashi that you three have nothing more to learn from me. I now can trust you. Tsunade watched as a young man entered the Hokage's office. Visually he was rather unremarkable if not counting his somewhat unusual hair. His mask was pulled down, hanging around his neck like a scarf, but there was nothing about his face that Tsunade would consider memorable. You requested my presence? Toro didn't seem to even notice Tsunade being present, and even though he spoke respectfully, his tone was different than the one of a subordinate. Considering the specifics of his situation, Tsunade understood that. Ah, Toro-san, good to see you. Hiruzen nodded, but noted that the young man looked like he was a bit roughed up, most likely some kind training considering he was supervising Team 7 while Kakashi was busy, and those three could be handful. Why was I called here, Sarutobi-san? Toro very rarely addressed the Hokage by his title, as if reminding him that he never officially accepted to be his subordinate and the ninja of the village. Personally, I had no reason to call for you. I am quite aware of your actions and performance, and have no reasons to be displeased in any way. It is just that my former student, Tsunade, wanted to speak with you. Hiruzen motioned to the side where Tsunade was sitting on a sofa. Senju Tsunade. Toro acknowledged with a nod. You and Orochimaru were teammates once. True. Tsunade nodded. I want to discuss something. That is possible provided I am also willing to discuss what you have in mind. The answer was straightforward, basically telling Tsunade to speak, but not promising any kind of answer. I've read about your past with Orochimaru. Your condition intrigues me as a medic. I am unaware of methods he used to transplant a tissue-based bloodline into you, and such medical knowledge could save lives in the future. It could, and it could also ruin them. Knowledge is a power like any else. Indeed, but I am not Orochimaru. Tsunade stood up, looking straight at Toro, who didn't seem to be intimidated by her presence. She didn't expect him to. After all, he openly opposed Orochimaru, and that guy could be beyond intimidating. You require knowledge that Orochimaru gained by the means that you are unwilling to use. As I said, I am not Orochimaru. I don't experiment on people, I treat their wounds. Some wounds are better be left alone to heal naturally, Senju-san. I will not speak with you on this topic. But I know Orochimaru and I know his motives and methods. I know nothing about you. I will leave now, Sarutobi-san. Toro turned to the old Hokage for a moment and left the office, leaving a fuming Tsunade and an amused Hiruzen. You knew he would answer like that. Tsunade looked at her old sensei, who nodded with a smile before lighting his pipe again. Of course. Remember, he is not exactly one of my ninjas, he is more of an ally who simply uses the title of a Chunin to avoid certain difficulties. You requested for a chance to speak with him and I complied, but now you yourself understand that demanding anything from his is simply stupid. He is too valuable of an ally to antagonize. I am quite surprised that he even discussed the topic with you, sort of. That young man is not new to pain. He knows it, feels it almost always. He is so used to it that he is like his bones, bends, but does not break. That pain, both physical and emotional, shaped him into who he is, into a being without any illusions clouding his sight. He doesn't believe in higher ideals, he doesn't think about building a brighter and better future. He admits that the world we live in is ruled by hate and pain. He doesn't hate it, he accepts it as a natural order of things. He understands suffering and accepted it as his way of survival. Do not demand him to share that unless he himself tells you about it. He told you. Because he decided that I have the right to know, because I could be his potential ally. He knows little about who you are and what you can offer. He will not speak with you about these things and about himself. For now, forget about this, Tsunade. Hinata's mind was running 1,000 thoughts a second. She just couldn't understand how it happened that she and Naruto agreed to train together. He seemed so free about how he interacted with people, and at the same time he never seemed to hurt anyone or badmouth anyone. He was a very strong-willed person, yet very kind and caring. Hinata was convinced that his kindness and ability to care so deeply was what gave him the power to never give up. Oh, hey Hinata, am I late? Naruto ran into the clearing. Naruto-kun? Hinata was happy that he actually showed. She knew she came too early, but was already thinking that perhaps he found something better to do. Alright, I am ready to train, because I really want to master the Rasengan. I doubt the perv will teach me anything else otherwise if I find him, that is. Why yes, let's start. Alright, so you see, I need to pour a ton of chakra into the jutsu, all the while spinning it and containing it in a sphere. The problem is that if I use the correct amount of chakra from the start, it all blows up in my face. Naruto scratched his head. So I add chakra slowly until I reach a correct level. Can you think of any way for me to fix that? Hinata immediately began thinking. She easily understood the concept. It was like filling a glass with water. If the water came pouring too hard, it would splash out of the glass from the pressure, but if you had a gentle stream, you could easily control it and fill the glass. I have an idea, but I don't know if it will work. Let's try it, so tell me about it. Naruto was all ears, looking at Hinata, who turned a bit red from his stare. You need to use sea chakra to form a layer, like a shield that will keep the chakra from escaping your control. Chakra layer, oh I get it, like the shell of an egg. Why yes, exactly, Naruto-kun. You can then transfer the sea chakra from the protective layer into the jutsu and complete it. Alright, let's try it. Naruto took a step back and Hinata once more watched in amazement as a sphere of chakra appeared. For a moment it seemed to be working, but then the jutsu went out of control and exploded with Naruto rolling back, the dense chakra lashing out in every direction. Naruto-kun? Hinata ran up to the boy thinking he was injured, but he soon sat up shaking his head and then smiled at her. Hinata, you are a genius. I almost did in less than a few seconds. I just need to practice more to figure out how exactly do I do this, but it works. Oh, I am happy. Then my idea works, and Naruto-kun. Are you alright? This is nothing, Hinata. Compared to training with Toro, this is a walk in the park. Toro-san? And my father talked about him. Really, what did he say? He warned me not to do anything to earn his ire. Good call. Toro isn't actually a guy to take a joke and he is a pain to train with, but he is a strong ninja and he knows stuff. My team sparred against him today actually and we beat him. We were awesome. That is amazing, and Naruto-kun. Hinata blushed again. Alright, I know what I should do. What is that jutsu you spoke of and how can I help? Oh, that? Hinata went even redder and turned away for a second. I want to use that chakra motion to make my own defensive jutsu. Your own jutsu, sound great. The only jutsu I ever invented is my sexy jutsu, but it is great against perverts. Hinata remembered how Naruto turned into a very pretty, and no less naked lady in the middle of the classroom back in the academy, and it took all her resolve not to faint. Hinata, you alright? Why yes. And Naruto-kun, can I observe the chakra motion with my Byakugan? Sure, no problem. Naruto held up his hand and basically performed the first step of the Rasengan using nothing but chakra. Hinata seemed fascinated by how the chakra moved in every direction. It was a breathtaking view for those blessed with the Hyuga clan bloodline. I think I can start. Oh, alright. I'll work on the Rasengan while you do your jutsu. Naruto nodded and the two genin began working. Minutes turned into hours as they kept trying to improve their techniques. Naruto actually managed to cut the time he needed to make the Rasengan in half if not more and was steadily getting better. Even the chakra explosions no longer were as violent, not even knocking him over, proving that was able to contain the chakra almost completely. Naruto couldn't help though but to glance at Hinata, who was moving her hands around, her palms glowing with chakra. Naruto couldn't really understand what she was trying to achieve, but he could see thin trails of chakra remain for a short while as she moved her hands. Whoa! Naruto for a moment stopped his own training as Hinata sped up her movements. Her flexibility allowed her to bend at almost unimaginable angles as she moved. Soon though she began to slow down until she almost collapsed to her knees from exhaustion. Hey Hinata, maybe you should take a break, I could use one too. Naruto ran up to the girl who nodded and they both went to sit by the training posts. Naruto actually had the energy to go on, but decided that Hinata would be bored just sitting and resting alone, so why not keep her company? Still need to be faster and more chakra. Hinata muttered with determination unusual for her. It seemed that she was really concentrated on her jutsu. That is what we are training for, to make it perfect. Still, look great. I bet you will have a great jutsu once you complete it, Naruto said honestly. Why, you really think so? Sure, I mean you went all like this with your hands and chakra followed like so, and how are you going to call it? I haven't thought about that, yet. Why not? A jutsu needs a name. You said it is about defense, so that should be in it, but also something from Hyugas since you are a Hyuga. Man, I am no good at thinking up names. Naruto leaned back feeling frustrated. His words made Hinata think, and after a moment the corners of her lips moved up in a faint smile. I think I have an idea. See, how great is that? Naruto grinned. Getting pretty late. Why, yes. Hinata looked at the sky watching as the sun was beginning to set. I will have to get back as soon. I will have to spar with my sister tomorrow. Oh, sounds neat if you help each other to get stronger. Naruto smiled, but then noticed that Hinata seemed sad. I can't hurt my sister. Then how do you spar without hitting her? That is just like giving up. Naruto narrowed his eyes, his goofy happy expression quickly exchanged for a very serious one. Well. You know, when we train with Toro he often hurts us or humiliates us. He is not gentle at all and doesn't encourage you or tell you that you will do better next time. Hell, I almost drowned the first time he trained us. Hinata listened to Naruto with wide eyes. But you know, we got much better thanks to him. I know that before he would have wiped the floor with us, but today we actually pinned him down. He caused us pain and we learned. And today in the morning Iruka had us tell some pretty dark stuff to the academy about being a ninja, and that was also painful. I think that sometimes to cause pain is to care. If that pain helps others get better, stronger, then it is worth it. Why, you mean? Iruka-sensei is the best teacher ever. I doubt he just tried to scare his students. He just cares and wants them to be prepared even if it means causing them pain. Toro, I am not sure, but I think that he also cares somewhat. He almost seemed pleased at our performance today. So if you care for your sister, fight her like you mean it. If you hurt her, it will not be out of malice, but because you want her not to get hurt when it will be an enemy delivering a strike. I understand. Maybe. I'll try. Besides, I bet if you go all out, you will be an awesome sparring partner. Naruto grinned. Chapter 38. It was doubtful that among the ninja population of the village there were those who didn't know who Hyuga Hayashi was. He was after all the head of the largest and most powerful clan in Konoha, a man with considerable political influence. Of course his position as a clan leader didn't give him any official authority over the political matters in the village, but he was a person whose opinion was always considered. After all, the members of the Hyuga clan were generally strong ninjas with a very useful bloodline, and thus the whole clan was a great asset to the military power of the village, especially now that the Uchiha clan was reduced to a single genin and his S-rank rogue ninja of a brother. Still, Hayashi was a very intelligent man, capable of easily navigating in the village politics without getting too many enemies, but still expanding the political grip of his clan. He influenced the events instead of getting involved personally, because he was also a ninja and their methods were always less straightforward. But along with being a powerful shinobi, a political figure, and the head of a clan, Hyuga Hayashi was also a father. Some though that he was a cold man, that suppressed any love and emotion for his children, but Hayashi knew that open affection for his daughters could be seen as a sign of weakness. There would be those willing to try and manipulate his actions through his children if he would show that they meant much for him. As sad as it was, being a clan leader meant that many sacrifices had to be made in order to protect his daughters. When thinking about this, Hayashi really missed his wife, her death depriving his children of so much needed parental love. The situation with his firstborn, Hinata, was especially concerning. Her progress in the clan techniques was not living up to the expectation, as after all she was the future heiress to his title. He saw how she struggled with fighting styles and techniques that simply didn't seem to suit her, and he couldn't offer any kind of encouragement in order to not lose his reputation of a man dedicated only to the well-being of a clan. He did what he could, most importantly finding an instructor for Hinata. Yuhi Kurenai of course could not teach the girl anything in connection with the Hyuga clan techniques. They were after all a very closely guarded secrets. Hayashi also pulled some strings for Yuhi Kurenai to become the Jounin instructor of his daughter's genin team. Some voiced their surprise when a genjutsu mistress became a leader of a squad mostly oriented around tracking and scouting, but she was at least a familiar and caring person Hinata could turn to for some emotional support she could hardly get at home. You may begin. Hayashi settled down to observe another spar between his daughters, again wondering how they turned out to be so different. If Hinata was a gentle, caring person, then Hanabi was an aggressive and somewhat arrogant girl who greatly prided herself of being born into the main family of the Hyuga clan and being the daughter of the clan leader. Those traits of character transferred into their fighting style. Hinata was mostly on defense, while Hanabi preferred attacking and eventually overwhelming her sister despite being younger. It all was the same this time, with Hinata slowly retreating under the barrage of strikes from her sister. Hayashi frowned, noticing how Hanabi left openings more than once, but Hinata didn't exploit them. At this rate it would be just a matter of time. Hayashi raised an eyebrow. Just a moment ago Hanabi seemed ready to deliver a fist-solid hit to her sister's chest, but Hinata somehow moved out of the way, and for the first time Hayashi saw something he wasn't used to. Hinata's eyes were different, they held something he never saw earlier. He just couldn't understand what it was. Tisk, lucky! Hanabi frowned and attacked again. Her hands moved in basic pattern taught to those fighting using Juken style. Fast, precise attacks aiming to throw the opponent off balance, pierce his defense, and deliver a devastating strike. During training the amount of chakra used was cut to a bare minimum in order to not injure the partner, but just make him feel the stinging pain of a Juken strike. Hayashi now observed more closely, watching as Hinata avoided the strikes, but it didn't seem that she was struggling with her defense. Still, she didn't block or dodge in a manner Hayashi was accustomed to. She seemed to almost flow around the barrage of strikes. Instead of opposing them, she flowed with them, turning a confrontation into something that resembled a dance, at least on her part. Hanabi seemed frustrated at her inability to land any hits, but then all of a sudden, when she finally saw a clear opening, her sister somehow maneuvered herself behind Hanabi's back. A Byakugan was a curse at such moments, as the younger girl saw in every detail how her sister's hand shot forward, scoring a direct hit on the back right between Hanabi's shoulders. Umph! Hanabi fell face down and slid on the floor. She was so surprised that she didn't even manage to collect herself and land without slamming her chin against the ground. She pulled herself up and faced her sister again, but now Hayashi clearly identified that look in Hinata's eyes. Resolve. But to do what? Hanabi didn't wait for her father to restart the fight and shot forward, her strike only hitting air, while Hinata's palm found its way to Hanabi's stomach, landing a blow strong enough to make the younger sister collapse down to her knees. Stop for now. Hayashi stood up, approaching his two daughters. He looked at them with a neutral expression and then rubbed his chin in deep thought. Hanabi, sit down for now. Hayashi sent the youngest daughter to rest, while he himself slid into a Juken stance facing Hinata. You seem to move in a very unorthodox manner, Hinata. Why yes, father. Let's see. Hayashi himself attacked. Unlike Hanabi, he was a master with years of experience, and his first 3 strikes nearly broke through Hinata's defense. But then she suddenly leaned back, his palm passing harmlessly over her chest, while Hinata herself lashed out with a strike. Hayashi moved back, feeling the familiar stinging sensation around his elbow, where Hinata scored a glancing blow, but it was still a blow she managed to land on him. Repeating the attack several times, Hayashi finally understood the concept Hinata now applied to her fighting method, and even though he still relatively easily overwhelmed her, had to admit that it proved highly effective when she used it. Enough for now. Hayashi pulled back, while Hinata stood breathing heavily, but still quite ready to go on. You abandoned the customary method of utilizing Juken, instead turning into something that requires a completely different mindset. Using your flexible body and quick reactions, you adapt your movements to the rhythm of your opponent, making him waste his energy by trying to hit you. Any attack will potentially leave him open for you to counter, as missed strikes throw the attacker off balance. Hayashi voiced his thoughts, looking at Hinata. What makes you think you will succeed? After all, the traditional Juken style was created by our ancestors. Do you really believe that we'll be able to create something new? Why yes. Hinata for a moment looked away, but then for the first time in who knows how long looked her father in the eyes. Because there are those who believe in me. And I believe in myself. Hayashi fought down an urge to step away from his daughter, who right now really resembled his late wife when she was irritated by something. Let's say I am intrigued, Hinata. You will demonstrate the progress of your development at a later date, and I find your method acceptable and not lacking in comparison to our more traditional ways, then I shall allow you to keep training in this manner. As for today, you demonstrated potential of your approach. Hayashi declared and turned to his younger daughter. Hanabi, for the time being Neji will be your training partner. You might benefit from experiencing his skill firsthand. I am arranging this in order to give your sister more time for her own development, but I shouldn't say that training, no matter how important, must not interfere with the duties of a ninja of the village. Hayashi glanced at Hinata, who bowed respectfully. She had time and she would use it well in order to finish her technique and prove once and for all that she could be strong. Damn it, my chakra! Sasuke leaned on his sword trying to catch his breath while Hate stood nearby looking as sick as ever. Today Sasuke was given time to practice his new technique, or rather try to at least perform it, but even with the Sharingan it proved incredibly hard to use correctly. The worst part was that it incorporated the Shadow Clone Jutsu as the means of an elaborate decoy, but for Sasuke creating a clone after a clone turned into torture, his chakra reserves quickly getting dangerously low. You are getting closer to doing it. Hate acknowledged Sasuke's progress, but the Uchiha wasn't satisfied with the way it went. When Hate demonstrated it, the technique looked fairly simple, but when it came to actually performing the jutsu, it was a whole different story. Besides, Naruto learned to use that chakra sphere jutsu, so Sasuke just had to master his new technique in order to keep up. Fine, let's try again. Sasuke held up his sword. You cough. Sure? You don't look well. That coming from you? Sasuke smirked, and Hate chuckled holding up his new sword. After all, his old one was still sealed up underground somewhere. The Uchiha attacked, with Hate blocking his slashes, the air getting filled with the sounds of metal clashing against metal. HN? Hate took a step back, avoiding a slash and losing sight of Sasuke for a moment. Then came another strike aimed for Hate's chest, but the swordsman parried it, getting into a weapon lock with the young Uchiha. With a grunt pulled his sword back and spun around, his katana moving in a wide arc with enough speed to live after images. Dance of the Crescent Moon! Hate blocked the slash and spun around only to see Sasuke land behind him with the sword positioned against Hate's neck. The shadow clone behind him disappeared in a puff of smoke. Perfect! Hate nodded, taking a step back away from the blade, while Sasuke suddenly fell down on his back trying to catch his breath. That last shadow clone ate up the last bits of chakra Sasuke had to spare, but it was so worth it. After all this training, he finally pulled off a complex technique with his sword. He couldn't help but feel pride and satisfaction from his achievement, not much different from what he felt when he first managed to perform Chidori. Your teammates are coming. Good work today. Hate waved and disappeared, leaving only wisps of white smoke behind that were quickly carried away by the wind. Sasuke turned his head to the side, feeling no desire to get up, and indeed saw his teammates walk, or rather limp, into the clearing. What happened to you two? Sasuke asked from his position on the ground. I could ask you the same question, team. Overused the shadow clones? Naruto slumped on the ground and Sakura did the same, all three just looking up at the sky with their heads almost touching. Shut up, Dobe. Now everyone has more chakra than brains. Oh, stop being an ass. Naruto growled in annoyance. Naruto, stop calling Sasuke-kun names. I am stating bare facts, that is totally different. Naruto objected. Whatever. Sasuke didn't want to argue. Yes, I exhausted most of my chakra while training to master the new technique, and it does involve that accursed Shadow Clone Jutsu. Shadow Clone Jutsu is awesome. For you, maybe, for me it is torture, and for Sakura it would be a death sentence. Still, what did Toro do with you two? Don't ask. Naruto growled, but Sakura decided to explain. He said that yesterday me and Naruto sucked when it came to facing an opponent armed with a polearm, so he made that spear again, and we had a nice pain-filled training session. He also said that he needed to practice against fighting multiple opponents supported by Genjutsu, so me and Sakura provided that. It wasn't a lesson, more like a spar now where we all tried to improve. Yeah, but he still is a pain to go against. At least I managed to once smack him straight in the jaw, while Sakura distracted him. Naruto said proudly. And how well did that go, Naruto? He barely moved, while you went running around screaming and holding your hand. I swear I heard something crack in it when you struck. His bones are dense enough to withstand slashes from a sword, and you are surprised it hurts to hit that guy? Sasuke asked with a critical look, turning his head to Sakura. Once you try to damage his muscles, arteries, inner organs, eyes, but don't try to break his bones. Thank you, my hand figured it out already. Naruto held up his hand that had a large dark blue bruise, but Naruto knew it would be gone by the end of the day. Only you learn with your hands instead of your head. At least you are decent at doing that. Wow, Sasuke, thanks, that sounded almost not like an insult. Naruto sighed, but then smirked. Why are you so early? Training with Toro usually lasts longer. An Anbu appeared again and called him. Said something about a potential mission. Really, maybe they will send him away for a couple of days? Sasuke wondered, and his teammates agreed that a bit of a rest would be nice. Lee woke up and was greeted by a sight of his sensei and his two teammates standing over his bed. His back felt sore after the surgery, but Shizune explained that everything went well. The news nearly made Lee jump out of bed with joy, but luckily Neji and Tenten managed to push him down. After that guy went into a teary tirade about the flames of youth, and how they could overcome anything and so on. Neji and Tenten know better than to interrupt that, but the weapon mistress couldn't help but smile at thought of her team returning to normal. Sure, her current situation had its perks, but she knew that being with her team would be more comfortable for her. Neji, we must train hard. Once I get up and will be able to train, I will train harder than I ever did, and you should too, Lee declared. Neji looked questionably at Lee. He half expected his teammate to declare his desire to train, but what was that about dragging him into it? Neji, we must train hard to catch up to Tenten-san, who now outranks us because of her most youthful actions during the battle. Lee, for the last time, I wasn't promoted because I am that awesome of a fighter. Chunin needs other skills too. Maumas 3 Neji is the strongest genin. Tenten sighed. Yes. But other skills can be developed too, by hard work and dedication to the cause. Guy gave them a blinding smile that made Neji's eye twitch. Oh well, good luck with your training, Neji. Hope you'll enjoy it. Tenten placed her hand on Neji's shoulder, trying not to laugh. That is not funny. Neji turned to Tenten, but that only made the girl laugh at his misfortune. He was about to reply in some manner when an Anbu operative appeared between them. Tenten-san, Lord Hokage requests your presence in regards to the possible assignment. You are to go immediately. Ag, these Anbu guys annoy me. Tenten yelled when the masked ninja disappeared in the same manner he came. Who do they think they are, just appearing like that? What if I was doing something private? Like what? Lee asked curiously. I don't know, maybe I was home with someone, or on a date. You? Doubtful. Neji shrugged. What is that supposed to mean? Tenten fumed, while Neji silently enjoyed his payback. It was nice gazing at the clouds. They were so peaceful, so free to just float around and do nothing. Not a bother in the world. Yet, being a cloud was nice, and watching them was also the least troublesome thing there was. Shikamaru had a nice lazy day. Ino was stuck in the flower shop, Chuji had something to do with his dad, Neji went to see his teammate, which meant that there was nothing else to do but being lazy. Of course he could go train, but that was such a drag. Watching clouds from the roof of his own house was a much more appealing way of spending the day. For a moment Shikamaru even closed his eyes, enjoying the warm sun. Perhaps he could take a nap while he was here, couldn't hurt. The warm feeling granted by the sunshine disappeared and Shikamaru felt someone standing over him. He opened his eyes and saw an Anbu operative blocking the sun. Shikamaru Nara-san, Lord Hokage requests your presence in regards to the possible assignment. You are to go immediately, the Anbu said and disappeared. Troublesome asshole. Oh well. Shikamaru stood up and stretched. He looked around and yawned. Shikamaru, I head that Anbu. Get going to the Hokage's office, right now. Shikamaru nearly fell off the roof when he heard his mother's voice coming from the kitchen. I am going. Shikamaru jumped down to the street. Bossy woman. I heard that. Some people wondered if their eyes were playing tricks on them, or perhaps they indeed saw a Nara run through the streets, as if he was in a hurry. I am glad all of you arrived so quickly. Hiruzen nodded and sent Shikamaru a surprised glance. Sure, when it came to being late the Naras had nothing on Kakashi, but still. Heh. Asuma smirked watching his student walk up to the other people present. Aside from Asuma there was also Toro and Tenten here, while Tsunade stood behind the third Hokage with a scroll in her hands. So, why did you gather us here? Asuma lighted a cigarette, earning looks of distaste from Tenten and Tsunade. I will explain that. Swanda sighed. Her sensei had her hand out mission assignments, a part of Hokage's job she didn't enjoy. Some time ago during a simple C-rank mission, Genin Squad 7 uncovered a plot of a potential uprising in the Land of Fire. We provided the information to the feudal lord as it was not a matter of village security. We hoped that the feudal lord would be able to handle the situation without other help, but it so happens we go wrong. Nice. Asuma grinned. He wasted an opportunity to handle the matter and now needs us to help clean up the mess? Precisely. Hiruzen nodded and motioned for Tsunade to go on. Either way, the conflict escalated to a localized war, with the eastern provinces partially occupied by the rebels. They counted on the fact that after the recent invasion the Hidden Leaf would be unable to actively participate in this conflict, and unfortunately they are correct. Asuma is the only Jounin we can spare right now. First of all, you get only 2 Chunin, Tsunade stated and unrolled a large map on the table. Shikamaru will take your Genin team, Asuma, with an addition of Hyuga Neji and Inazuka Kiba from Team 8, and will move here to help the local military forces stop the raids on the supply lines. The problem there is that someone seems to give the rebels information, so I hope Yamanaka Ino will be of good use. Secure the supply line and then move to join the main army that is gathering near the capital. Tsunade looked at Shikamaru in a way that made a shiver run down his spine. As for you, Asuma, you will take the remaining 2 Chunin, Genin Squad 7 and the remaining members of Genin Squad 8 and will move here, towards the Amarso Bridge. There is a part of feudal army there, and you will help them in their task of preventing the rebel army from crossing the river and moving into the heart of the country. Got it. Well, we better go prepare. Asuma sighed and released some smoke into the air before putting out the cigarette and throwing it out the window. Chapter 39. It was decided that for a while the 2 large teams would travel together. Then they would split up, with Shikamaru's team heading north to carry out their mission, while Asuma's larger and more combat-oriented group would move towards the river and then travel along the shore towards their destination. It was logical that a group that most likely take part in have fighting was led by a Jounin, while Shikamaru's group had a more delicate assignment that required someone capable of planning out a complex operation to lure out and identify a person providing the rebel forces with the critical information. Overall, that would require a more delicate approach without the need to rush into things. Also, Shikamaru's group was provided with good scouting, observation, tracking, capture and interrogation capabilities, all that would be needed. Oh wow, almost everyone is here, just like Chunin Exams again. Ino clapped her hands as the large ninja group assembled. Oh, don't remind me of those. Sakura frowned. The Chunin Exams didn't leave her with many happy memories, if any at all. The exams went downhill from day one, starting with that nerve-shaking first exams, and then things really went bad once Orochimaru appeared during the second part. All that was topped with the invasion in the end. Still, Ino didn't seem to pay much attention to Sakura's gloomy mood, as she had someone else on her mind and in her sight. Hey Sasuke-kun. Too bad we aren't on the same team this time. I bet we would complete our mission quickly with some time to spare. Ino spoke in a flirty tone that made Sasuke groan. Since Sasuke mostly ignored Sakura's attempts to flirt with him, her behavior toned down to a level where he no longer felt as annoyed at his female teammate. When it came to Ino though, Sasuke had to fight an urge to either run away, or simply knock the girl out. This is not the time, nor the place for that, Yamanaka. Toro spoke in his usual sharp, uncompromising manner that made Ino turn to him with irritation. Sasuke released a breath of relief when Ino's attention shifted to the archer. He almost wanted to thank the guy. And who put you in charge? Ino scowled. You seem to forget your place, Yamanaka. Right now, I am one of those with the right to issue orders to you. Do you understand, or should I? She gets it, she is sorry. Sakura pulled Ino away with her hand over the blonde's mouth, stopping her from saying anything. Toro didn't seem convinced, far from it, but did do anything except for turning away. Sakura, what gives? I was just about to give that asshole a piece of my mind. Ino glared at Sakura, who finally released her. You stupid? You don't give Toro a piece of your mind unless you want him to obliterate you both physically and emotionally. Don't mess with him, seriously. Pfft, doesn't seem like much. I bet you just don't want to be in trouble later. Think whatever you want, just don't give him any reason to, just don't irritate him, alright? Whatever, forehead. Ino smirked, but Sakura just sighed. Her friend Simple didn't get it. Nearby Naruto approached Sasuke with his usual toothy grin. Saved by Toro, that doesn't happen often. Naruto long since knew about Sasuke being annoyed at the girls constantly flirting with him and asking for dates. Naruto actually wondered why Sasuke never accepted any of the offers. It just wasn't possible that none of those girls interested him, though in reality that was exactly the case. Those girls didn't know him, didn't understand him, and had nothing he could value. So in his opinion most of them were a complete waste of space. Whatever, Sasuke shrugged. What do you think about the mission? I say we could use a bit of action. Besides, from what I understand we will be fighting a bunch of mercenaries and regular scum. They shouldn't be that tough. They will more than make up for that in numbers, Sasuke replied. Come on, remember back in the wave, Zabuza tore through those Gato's guys like knife through butter. And died as the result, and I don't remember that. I was in a temporary death state. Sasuke sent Naruto a glare. Oh right. Man, that looked scary and awesome. I mean, sure, Zabuza died and all, but he tore through their ranks with a single kunai in his teeth. How sick is that? HN. Sasuke imagined the picture of a blood-covered Zabuza with a kunai between his teeth and a maniacal gleam in his eyes. That alone could scare many people. But Naruto had a point. A regular mercenary was no match for a trained ninja, even a genin, unless they came in enormous numbers. But despite that, this mission could turn out to be pretty dangerous. Most of them had no experience in fighting battles involving such large amounts of people. After all, the feudal army couldn't be small. Ahem, seems that everyone is here and is prepared. Asuma addressed the ninjas before him. First of all, I want you to follow the orders of higher-ranking ninja without any questions. That means that Chunin listened to me and Genin listened to Chunin. That goes double for you, Ino. Sakura smirked as Asuma made Ino look away. Apparently he noticed her little encounter with Toro. With Shikamaru becoming Chunin, the dynamics of Ino's team didn't change much, since even before Shikamaru was the one to make plans and ideas. Basically his unofficial position as a team leader was made official. Asuma most of the time was a rather laid-back person, and as a result Ino had a bit of a problem when it came to subordination. Now we will be all traveling as one group for now, but time is short, so if any of you expected a calm walk, I am sorry to disappoint you. We will be running for 11 hours straight until we reach the point where we will split up. No questions? Let's move. Asuma spat out a cigarette and stomped on it, putting the thing out. Once that was done, Asuma jumped up into the trees followed by the rest of the ninja. If anything, jumping through the trees didn't allow you to feel bored, not too bored at least. Keeping attention was necessary because you could either lose your team leader or run straight into some branch. But even though moving around like this was the fastest method of traveling generally available to most ninjas, it had a certain disadvantage. It required high stamina to use for extended periods of time. This particular disadvantage was becoming quite clear to some members of the large ninja group. Asuma frowned. His genin team was never combat-oriented, and that was why when training them he mostly stressed the need for flawless cooperation between their members. This made Team 10 quite tricky to handle in a direct confrontation, while also allowing them to effectively ambush enemies. Still, they mostly relied on fast, well-planned attacks and had little chance in a prolonged fight when then you had to outlast the opponent. None of the members of Team 10 had sufficient muscle mass or stamina for that. Even Chuji, who was considered a front-line fighter, relied on his family techniques to increase his own mass in order to deliver relatively slow, but devastating strikes. All of that was becoming painfully clear as halfway to their first checkpoint the members of Team 10 were showing clear signs of fatigue. This posed a dilemma for Asuma, as he couldn't allow the ninja to take a break, especially if there were only 3 of them who actually required it. Oh no. Chuji didn't push off the branch hard enough and began falling down. Oh, thanks. Choiji felt someone catch him and hoist him up on the shoulder. I am not that good at long runs. Silence. Toro held Chuji on his shoulder without showing much strain. Uzumaki Uchiha. Tisk, fine. Sasuke scowled. No, I won't carry her, team. Naruto shook his head when Sasuke turned to Naruto with a silent plea. Sasuke couldn't really blame his teammate. He knew that there would be loud objections followed by non-stop ranting on Ino's part. Perhaps if he carried her she would the very least be silent. Troublesome, but oh well. Shikamaru sighed when Naruto hoisted him on his back, jumped forward in order to gain up to the others. Shikamaru actually didn't mind. He took the time to take a nap despite annoyed growls coming from the young Jinchuriki. Oh, you are such a gentleman, Sasuke-kun. Ino almost squealed when Sasuke hoisted her on his back. As usual, he plainly ignored her, or at least tried. He cursed the heavens for this predicament. The only consolation he had was that moving with added weight could be considered training. He also hoped that the sword on his back would make Ino's time as uncomfortable as possible. Hey, Sasuke-kun, maybe when we get back from a mission we could… No. But… No. You didn't let me finish. Ino pouted. You wanted to ask me on a date? Yes. No. Sasuke sighed, shaking his head. Why not? Ino asked. I don't like you. Huh. Why, am I not pretty? Ino for a moment sounded offended. Don't know, don't care. And for the record, I have no particular liking for girls with long hair, nor for slim girls, nor for whatever other nonsense was there back in the academy. But… Ino blinked in disbelief. Just shut up. You annoy me. How come? Sasuke groaned again. What part of shutting up was hard to understand? You just close your mouth and that was about it, yet for some reason it was very hard for her. Curse Naruto for having to carry the lazy, but far less annoying Nara. I mean, you are teammates with Naruto and he is an idiot. Sasuke nodded. But that doesn't stop him from being a competent ninja. I don't care if he is loud, obnoxious, or if he is color-blind considering his jumpsuit. He is strong and he makes the team strong, and I can rely on him to watch my back. The only thing you can do for my back is ride on it. Sasuke raised his voice, making Ino squeak in fear, pulling her head into her shoulders. So once more, shut up. This is the place. Asuma landed in the middle of a rather unremarkable clearing with the others landing around him. We rest for 15 minutes and then split up. Naruto, I need to talk with Shikamaru. Asuma sat down under a tree and rolled out a map. He wanted to discuss the best possible route with his student, who flew through the air and landed right next to Asuma. You could have just shaken me awake, that would be far less troublesome. Shikamaru pulled himself into a sitting position. He saw Ino slide off Sasuke's back, being surprisingly quiet, while Taro threw Chuji down like a sack of potatoes. Be happy that you didn't drool on me while taking a nap. I'd pound you silly then, Naruto said with a laugh. Toro-san, please keep watch, just in case. Asuma looked up and the archer disappeared in the trees after a short nod. The others took time to grab something to eat. So, I gather Sasuke-kun didn't appreciate having to carry you? Sakura sat down next to Ino and handed her a ration bar. No, he wasn't. Ino shook her head, taking a bite from the bar and not minding the taste. He said some mean things. Relax, he didn't aim to make you feel bad. HMPF. Ino didn't reply and took another bite. She then looked at Sakura, but didn't say anything. What? It is just... out with it. Who is Sasuke? I mean, what he likes, what he hates. Ino asked, not knowing what to think right now. Well, when he talked about his likes and dislikes, he said that he doesn't particularly like anything, or anyone. I am not sure that he even thinks in those categories, for him it is different. I guess he either respects you, or doesn't. He either finds things useful, or useless, and useless things are annoying, because they serve no useful purpose. Sakura explained. So what we did in the academy? Yeah, total waste of time. I don't of course mean the objective. Sakura sent a dreamy glance at Sasuke, who was rubbing his lower back with a scowl while sitting down. But our methods at getting his attention. It is all quite silly actually. Oh great, now I have to rethink my approach. Ino frowned. Sure you do that. Sakura smirked. Hey, why aren't you annoyed and why are you even telling me this? We are rivals for Sasuke-kun's heart. Sure we are, but if we bicker all the time that sure won't give any of us points, he'll just think of us as of annoying useless girls. I am more content with my current position of a loyal comrade. You. Well, he didn't end up having to carry me all the way here, now did he? Oh shut it, not my fault. Actually, totally your fault. Well, maybe you can blame Asuma-sensei too for not pushing you through hard enough. Then again, you didn't have our motivator. Sakura looked up. You mean that Toro? He is a total ass. He is... harsh, I'll say that much. Being around him is not easy, training with him, not far from a torture, but he knows what he is talking about. He is a skilled and deadly ninja, and you don't mess with such people unless you want a good portion of pain in your life. After splitting up, Asuma's group made its way towards the river. It was another 2.5 hours worth of moving at top ninja speeds, so by the time they actually reached the river it was already dark. We camp here tonight, Asuma declared. It was pretty dark, so when Sasuke set up a campfire it was a welcome source of both light and warmth. Asuma barked out a couple of orders and settled down to plan out their course for tomorrow. Soon everyone was working. Sasuke and Hinata were sent to the water to catch some fish. Their ocular bloodline allowed them to perform that task even in total darkness, and Asuma decided against using their supplies if they could avoid it. Sasuke and Shino began setting up tents, while Naruto went to get more firewood. Sakura began boiling water and preparing to turn freshly caught fish into some warm soup. Toro and Tenten went to set up some traps, most aimed to warn them should the enemy approach. Either way, soon enough everyone settled down for supper. Yeah, sure beats the ration bar. Naruto grinned. He ate in a manner that was clearly different from a slow and dignified way of eating demonstrated by Shino and Hinata. But that never bothered anyone. On the contrary, a picture of Naruto taking time with his food would actually put others on the edge. It would simply look unnatural. Will we reach that bridge by tomorrow? Sasuke looked at Asuma. Yeah, that was the plan. We will move along the river, so we won't miss it, though it will hard to miss. Awesome. Naruto grinned. This whole idea with the bridge actually brings back memories. I mean, I can't help but think back to our adventure in the Wave Country. You could tell us you know, Tenten pointed out. Most of us have very little idea of what happened to you on that mission. So Naruto decided to tell the story with Sasuke and Sakura adding their own parts, not allowing Naruto to trail off too much. It was a nice way to pass the time, and even though the story itself was rather dramatic, everyone laughed when Naruto admitted that he originally thought that Haku was a girl. It was an interesting story and best of all truthful. Shino, take first watch, Asuma said as others prepared to go to sleep. Toro, you next, then Sasuke, Tenten, Naruto. Others just sleep. Move over, Dobe, you are not at home, came from one of the tents, and Tenten giggled at that. She was about to join Sakura and Hinata when she saw that Toro was still sitting by the fire. By the looks of it, he was making an extra string for his bow, a slow and monotonous process. What surprised her was that he was humming something that sounded familiar. Well, I didn't expect that. Tenten sat down next to Toro with mirth in her eyes. He didn't react to her presence, except shifting slightly on his spot. Never thought you'd be a music type. I am not. But you hummed a tune, Tenten objected. Toro suddenly looked up at her, but his eyes quickly turned back to his work, though something appeared under that cold look. It just comes to my mind when I do something like this. Toro held up the unfinished bowstring. Well, that is nice. It proves that you are actually a human. Tenten released a short laugh, but Toro didn't show that he appreciated the humor. Whatever, I happen to know that tune. Tenten spoke and was pleased by the result. Almost instantly Toro's fingers stopped their work and his whole body tensed up. Yeah, it is actually a lullaby. To think that you would be humming a lullaby. Tenten covered her mouth not to laugh. She wondered what Toro's reaction would be, but he just stood up after a moment. I'll go exchange the aburame. But his shift barely started. No matter. Toro walked off, leaving a puzzled Tenten who couldn't understand if she said anything she shouldn't have. Shino didn't object when Toro sent him to sleep, just made a mental note about it. Still, some extra time to rest was welcomed, so he soon left the silent archer alone in the woods. Toro didn't watch him leave, he just ran up the trunk of a tree ending up on a thick branch high above the ground. For some time he stood silently, but then a low growl escaped his throat and his fingers dug into the tree bark, leaving long gashes as the hands slid down.